See, the very purpose of this mentorship session is not to give gyan sort of thing. It's not required either. So do something very practical, which brings the solution to you without sucking you the energy, time, that you will realize now in the next half an hour itself. Why we are doing so, that I tell you something that you should be very clear that why we are doing so at this moment of time. There are two reasons for that. So I call it what I call mentorship. Mains 2023. Why I'm doing so? Number one, anyone who knows me a little bit and those who are involved at GSS Code, those know it very well that here faculties are very much involved. And personally, you will find that I used to correct copy like anything. And no one can match me in copy correction in the entire Rajan. It's a very rare. Anyone knows me this year also. That gives me the first-hand experience what is going on that I will discuss with you. Because when you are directly involved, you are not taking feedback. Na? Question कोई और set कर रहा है, answer कहीं और बन रहा है, copy कोई और correct कर रहा है, discussion students से कोई और कर रहा है, तो वो sync ही नहीं हो पाता. There is no sync, there is no guidance, there is no direction. There is no direction, and I'm saying on the public platform itself. So, so what I've realized that with my limited experience, there are two things why we are doing so. If you look at the configuration of marks, even if within the 100, top 100 rankers, or entire spectrum of the things, right from the first ranker to the last ranker, you will find that in the written examination, it varies from anything from here. The cutoff varies from here 38% to 40%, 42% maximum. Sometimes it goes low also, sometimes it goes high also, 44%. In 2016, it went to 46% also. But I'm not here to tell the story. If you just spare some 15-20 minutes time, you will find that only 5 areas are there in the main examination, written examination, apart from mains, apart from, you can say, this optional. There are only 5 areas that decides variation of anything from 10 marks to 100 marks. Only 5 areas. For example, very precisely, in ethics, open-ended questions and solution-seeking questions. In ethics, number 2, case study, as it is 120 marks. Number 3, polity, because of its quality of substantiation, not marks. Fine. Then essay, especially you can say the philosophical essay. And here the challenge is basically to remain relevant. And then economy, because of the quality of the analysis. We discuss with you can say the teachers here that how we should conduct it. RP sir is here for the polity, and economy Himanshu sir will take. He is very senior civil servant, and in my entire life, probably he is the 1 or 2 person among the 1 or 2 person. If you talk about the economy, you will feel that this is called the knowledge and this is called simplicity. He's already into the service. Very rare kind of person. He did everything in economy. Polity RP sir is born and brought up in polity, and that's why we have decided to address these kind of things in the next 5 days. Just very quick, so that we touch each and everything. Each and everything we should touch and then live to correct the things. Fine, number 1. Number 2, I think now I can safely say on record, जब से ये जून से इस बैच की टेस्ट स्टार्ट हुई है, मैं अब तक एटलीस्ट 700-800 कॉपी करेक्ट कर चुका हूँगा. इसके आसपास हो सकता है, वो 700 भी हो, 650, मतलब ब्रॉडली इतने रेंज में मैं कॉपी करेक्ट कर चुका हूँ। तकरीबन मुझे लगता है कि अगर आई एम सेइंग ऑन रिकॉर्ड 200 या 200 से ज्यादा लोगों से मैं 1-to-1 कर चुका हूँ अभी तक with their copies. What I have learned, and on this I said, you can say on 15th अगस्त को जो मेरी डिस्कशन थी, सारे इंटायर डे मैंने डिस्कशन किया। कैन एनीवन कॉल, बाहर से तो किसी को बुला देना। तो 15 अगस्त को इस बार मैंने करीब करीब 10:30 बजे से लेके और 5:30-6 बजे तक मैंने डिस्कशन किया। बहुत लोग लिख रहे हैं इसमें, देयर आर सो मेनी स्टूडेंट्स राइटिंग वॉइस इज नॉट ऑडिबल, नहीं है, देख लेना एक बार आवाज। And I said one thing in that in my very limited short career, but very limited, whatever you can say, what I realized, probably this is the first time that I have seen the very poor quality of answers, not in terms of you can say the lack of knowledge, लेकिन ये पहली बार हुआ है जब 99% कॉपीज एक ही तरह की आ रही है। I spoke to some of the selected candidates also, because there is a very small batch here, those who are selected already and they are going for the improvement. तो उन लोगों ने अपने में ही आपस में बात करके एक बैच बना लिया, and they came to me कि सर आप मेंशन कर दीजिए हम लोगों की, since we are going for the rank improvement, so we have very specific queries. Even then when I started talking to them, they said कि सर कि जैसे मैंने किसी के कॉपी में बिल्कुल क्रॉस करके भेज दिया, उसको बिल्कुल काट दिया। मैंने पूछा उससे कि हाउ यू कैन commit such kind of mistake. So he said कि sir, it's basically this kind of discussions are going on in the Telegram, and a lot of discussions are happening in and around the topper's copy, and so we are following that kind of format. Fine, I don't want to go into that. I'm no one to say, but 5 days session is going to be very based on very specific theme, very specific theme. This is the first time that I have seen that many students are writing like a robot. In the sense, more and more points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means more information you give, and उसको करके हम निकल जाते हैं। Fine. इसीलिए इस दो रीजन से ही हम लोगों ने ये सेशन किया, so that we divide our understanding into the we categorize into a different kind of theme, and let's express and help students to elevate and fix the things in a very quick time. Fine. So this is what. So my today's you can say the ethics section A. A is the theme is how to be very specific. Specific in the sense in the answer writing, because you will find in the ethics, even if you talk to your peer group, they have their own idea, notion. It's a subjective XYZ, whatever it is. Whether it is subjective or anything else, it doesn't matter. Just a moment. मेरी एक डायरी होगी लेके। So I was talking about the specific. So in ethics section A, what I'm going to do basically, we'll take certain questions, and through discussions, I will explain what is meant by specific. And for that, you don't have to read anything extra, but meaning alertness, that alertness itself will help you to improve. You don't have to do anything extra sort of thing. कि हम ये पढ़ें वो पढ़ें. Number one. Number two, it also happens because your recall is not very good. You know, but at that moment, probably you are not able to recall, so you are not able to you can say, do probably analyze. So The second thing what I'm going to do is basically we'll give you approximately 500 questions, and you will get it in your My Account section itself. It's basically touches each and entire syllabus, and it's not a question that you need to solve. You don't need to solve it in the sense that kind of questions it is not. कि UPSC के parameter पे. It's very basic questions which touches each and every subtopics, so that you just read, think without ink. Just read it and recall. For example, what is the significance of ethics in contemporary life? That's it. So you recall. Because when you do answer writing, what you do, you capture your thought process. But honestly, if you ask one question to yourself, you do a lot of practices. You take questions from here and there and from various places also. You participate in various coaching test series also. But genuinely ask one thing, that what you do for your thought process. What you do for your thought process. Because in answer writing, you capture your thought process. So until unless you do something about your thought process to bring clarity, organize, structure, you cannot sustain the quality. You cannot sustain the quality of the answer. Why I am saying so? Because in my entire life, I can tell you, hardly I met 2-3% only, those who are selected, with whom after interaction, I can say he is simply extraordinary in terms of content. Otherwise, on record, I am saying you, I never ever met anyone about whom I can say that he or she is extraordinary in terms of content. They are good, they are selected just because they are more organized in a structure, nothing else. उनके आंसर देख लो, जीएसएस कोड के साइट पे भी कम से कम 300-400 लोगों की कॉपी इस साल की डली होगी. अगर टोटल देखे तो मुझे लगता है 1000, 2000, 5000 पता नहीं कितने कॉपीज होंगे, भरा हुआ है. लेकिन किसी से मिलके मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगा कि क्या कंटेंट है. They are organized and structured. They are organized. This year also, if you see the rank 3, last year also Divya Misra, she was highest in the written. Then you talk about the Srishti Jain Deshmukh, उसकी कॉपीज देखो, rank 13 की कॉपी देखो, कम से कम मुझे लगता है 30 कॉपीज होगी उसकी. They are simply organized, better structured. Probably they may have better recall. That's why they are able to sustain the quality of answer, nothing else. So what I did in the ethics, everywhere I'm not going. Everywhere my approach is different. For example, tomorrow when case study I'm going to do, here itself in class itself, we will solve 3, 4, 5 case study so that everything is done here itself. Because there is nothing called thinking, recall or revision. In the essay also, we'll do the philosophical essay practice, writing everything here itself. Whatever you have to do it here now. Fine. So that 500 question, just flipping those 500 questions whenever you have time. You don't have to go in one go, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. बच्चों वाली सवाल है, तो वो आपको एक बार पूरी सिलेबस को और PYQ को वो पूरा का पूरा आपको एक बार रिवाइज करा देगी, रिकॉल करा देगी. Why I am not giving any note or anything that sort of thing? Because it's not wise to burden you. And also thinking through the questions will help you more rather than giving any supplementary sort of thing. Though I have compiled 200 keywords with examples that I will give you, because that keyword may help you little bit with examples. Though you have your own, लेकिन वो मैं दे दे रहा हूँ, इसके अलावा बस यही है. So let's come to the point now. Let's start. So you all have questions. These questions are basically, if you look at the questions, it's very well, you can say, well thought questions, which demands thinking rather than merely information. If you look at the questions, it's not very difficult question, but it demands thinking. Thinking in the sense that merely by writing too many points, you cannot write answers. And that's why I said today's theme of this mentorship session is that how to be specific in ethics. Because in geography, you are in any case specific. In environment, your answers are in any case specific. But here, your answers are not as specific, and that's why I have decided that please do like this only. So let's come to the point. If you go by the PYQs, find your PYQs of last, you can say 7-8 years, help you to categorize all set of questions in broadly 4 categories. यार बाहर से देखना कोई बार-बार किसी को बुलाना तुम. Right. So if you see last 7-8 years PYQ, you will find all the questions can be broadly categorized in 4 broader sections. Number 1, the first is open-ended and abstract. Open-ended abstract questions. There your answers are highly subjective. First thing first, from where they ask these questions, so you will find from 3 units they frame these questions. First is you can say essence of ethics, human values, and thinkers. So from these 3 areas, 90% of the questions, what you call it open-ended or abstract type of questions, they ask. We'll go here also, but let me explain first what is the you can say, it's not about prediction. I don't want to predict, guess anything else. It's something which is very tangible that we can do it. So these are the 3 areas. Number 2, you will find that keywords. They directly take questions based on certain keywords. And keyword-based questions you will find again from 3-4 areas. Number 1, human values. Number 2, foundational value for civil services, emotional intelligence, you can say, and something from ethics in administration. Fine. So again, the keywords are here that you can see. Mostly keywords are here also. ज़्यादातर कीवर्ड आपको यही मिलेंगे आपको. हालांकि मैंने कंपाइल कर दिया, but for the sake of your alertness, that when you go for recall, revision, etc., basically you have to just take care of one and only one thing, that what we can do at this point of time. You cannot go on, it's not required. एक ब्रॉडर आइडिया रहे तो हमारा रिवीजन फ्लिप करने में उस पॉइंट पे थोड़ा फोकस बढ़ जाता है, अलर्टनेस ज्यादा रहती है कि यस वी कैन डू लाइक दिस. फाइन. देन थर्ड इज अप्लाइड एथिक्स. If you look at since 2019 onwards, applied ethics questions are more. उसके questions बढ़े हैं. Fine. So in applied ethics, there are 2 things. Number 1, I'm taking governance here itself, ethics in governance. So here you will find the questions, and then contemporary issues. Fine. Whether it is environment, CSR, international funding, से आ रहे हैं ना questions सब. Fine. So if you look at your preparation, you will find, and the fourth is solution seeking. Solution seeking, here there are a set of questions every year since 2017-18 onwards largely, and 19 onwards more precisely. You will find the questions which seeks solution from you. In section A, I am talking about, not in the case study. In the section A itself, they seek solution. In the sense, whatever you have read, its application. What is the utility of it? And so there also you will find generally when you give suggestions or you can say in the solution, you are unnecessarily too idealistic. Too idealistic. For example, you ask to yourself when you write way forward in any answer, whether it is paper 1, 2, 3, and optional also, wherever you write, because this is how you are wired in your preparation, that in any case you have to write way forward. But when you write way forward, you never ever bother to simply write what are the challenges of it or what are the constraints of it. So in way forward or giving solution, what you do, you simply say that if we have to solve the climatic change problem, so you can say sustainable development is the solution. अरे यार इतना आसान होता तो 50 साल तो हो गए. 1972 में पहली अर्थ समिट हुई और अभी तक चल रहे हैं. इवन G20 का थीम भी वही है. One Earth, one family, one future. वहीं पे है तो कर नहीं लिया जाता. So what is happening here, that either you are not alert or you are simply missing what is the challenge, constraint, etc. so that you can take edge. So the point is here, basically you will find that most of the students are here. They have full list of the keywords. So, and questions in answer also, you will find that your answers are mostly in and around the keyword. One keyword you have captured in the question, and then your answer somewhere dominates in and around the keyword, in that zone, that keyword, that list of keyword. Also, I have found that that this year probably the first time, more and more, that somewhere it has been spread that you have to substantiate your answer. That's beautiful. But on the name of substantiation, you cannot bring the moral theory, utilitarianism, deontology unnecessarily. You have to be very careful about what makes your justification relevant. If it is relevant, then it's okay. If it is not, you need to be careful. So solution seeking. So if you look at all the questions of the last 7-8 years, you will find here. Yahi 7 saal, 8 saal. Yes, please. Giving positive conclusion would catch more marks than see, what's her name? Adyan is saying that in answer writing, giving positive challenges, positive outcome or conclusion is better to face the marks. See, number one, we need to be very honest, candid, and humble to accept that nobody knows how UPSC gives the marks. It's very much fashion in the part of the coaching institutes also, those who stand on the podium, to behave as if they are the chairman of the UPSC. Aisa kar lo, ye kar lo, wo kar lo. Whatever experience I have gathered on the basis of the copy correction and interaction itself. I do it massive. So for example, this year also they will write mains. You will also write mains. Fine. You will also evaluate me. I will also evaluate you. It's very simple. That gives you also learning. That gives me learning. What I have realized that clarity is more important than anything else. Justification must be based on certain things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means there must be some you can say basis to say so. Legality, morality, fact, popular perception, popular idea. Kuch to basis hoga na uska kehne ka. That is more important than the conclusion. I'm coming to you again. Just wait. Fine. So this is what it is. Let's come to one by one. I'm not going, you can say, and also it will not take, you can say 4 hours. We have generally put it a 4-hour session. Since it was raining, I come from Ghaziabad, so it took a little bit time. Otherwise, हम लोग tentatively, you can say 2.5 से 3 घंटे के span में करेंगे. Polity और economy थोड़ी होगी, because our idea is basically to touch in everything. But anyway, let's start. So I will go randomly. My whole idea, quick recap, how to be specific in the answer writing, in the answers, more relevant, fine, more relevant. And then after doing so, we'll do half an hour exercise just to go through, quickly run through the subtopics of the syllabus so that you can understand this very well. that what does mean by it, and also it will help you to, you can say, just flip the questions that I have already uploaded on your we have uploaded on your account section, so that you can say just read ki आपको इस theme में ही उसको सिर्फ देख लेना 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, that's it, nothing else. वो recall का problem solve कर देगा आपका. Let's start. So question number 1. Question number 1. I'm reading also, or anyone, those who are not having question online, I will put it in the chat box. Don't worry for that. We'll do it. So let's two things. Read the question carefully. Can ethics and self-interest coexist? How do we reconcile our own desire and interest with ethical consideration? Fine. This is the question. Now I have two demands. Two demands in the sense that I say, number 1, illustrate. Fine. Explain and critically analyze. Fine. So this is a question that can be you can say the question can be reframed with a specific demand in 3 ways, though the question will remain same. Question will remain same. So the first thing first, question is, can ethics and self-interest coexist? How do we reconcile our own desire and interest with the ethical consideration? Ethical consideration. What is this question is all about? My first question is, what is the key demand? My first question to you. I will ask more rather than you can say so that you should speak out, क्योंकि वो पर्पस ही यही है इसका कोई ज्ञान देने का पर्पस नहीं है, उसको एक्सपोज करना, उसको फिक्स करना और फिक्स यहीं पे करना. We have to you can say do that itself. That's it, nothing else. बताओ की डिमांड क्या है इस क्वेश्चन की? Tell me. What is what's her name? What's her name? Ujjwal. ठीक है. Kapil is saying that it's a conflict of interest. Nikita is saying that it's also conflict of interest. Too much lagging. It's a question of emotional intelligence. No. See the answer. It's not about conflict of interest. Fine. It's not about emotional intelligence. It's not about this. That's why I said that we how we will be specific. Yes, please speak out. What is the key demand? That's it. Very simple. Fine. Why I'm asking this question? The reason is, number 1, the first thing first, that any question comes to you, whether it is open-ended, close-ended, or whatever it is, doesn't matter. कोई भी question आए, the first thing first, you have to be very specific in terms of key demand. Key demand is not the keyword. Please try to understand. It's not keyword. Number 2, key demand has to be very specific in the sense, once you go through the question in the first 30 seconds itself, that should strike to your mind that the key demand is this, and key demand has to be in 1 2 3 words. so that it gives you a direction. अगर क्वेश्चन के बदले क्वेश्चन ही फ्रेम किया तो बहुत फायदा नहीं है उसका. मैं रिमाइंड कराता रहूंगा एक वर्ड आपको. Our whole idea is basically to be specific. How to be very specific to the demand of the question rather than giving the knowledge. You have, I appreciate, but UPSC has some specific demand. We have to fulfill that, nothing else. And this is what I'm going to discuss today. Fine. So here, if you look at it, basically talks about the relationship between the self-interest and the ethics. Fine. So the question is here, the very specific demand is a relationship with self-interest and ethics. Relationship. So it says coexist, very simple. Relationship between the two, number one. Now it says, can ethics and self-interest coexist? First part. How?
Self-interest, if our interests are in line with the ethical standards.
Fine. So, in the sense that what you can write here, you will have to write by substantiating anything. Now, the question is here, if you look at in the class itself, and there is a huge number of students in online also, if you ask, I ask one question, that everyone will say yes. The first thing first, everyone will say yes, it can go together. Fine. But the question is, what you are going to write in the first paragraph will help you to take edge over the others. And also it gives the clear, you can say the message to the examiner that you understand it. So the question is, can ethics and self-interest coexist? Now there are various ways to write it. Now you can write it that in the contemporary world, when we are more and more living a life which is basically influenced by the idea of individualism, and also the self-interest dominates over the you can say for anything, then really often it ignores the ethical principles. Fine, that you can find in the consumerism, that you can find in the personal life also, whether it is you can say the live-in relationship, adultery, बहुत सारे example हैं जहां पे individual के कारण ethical standards follow नहीं होते हैं. Good, bad, right, wrong नहीं कर रहा हूं मैं. I'm not passing the judgment. I'm simply unfolding. So my point number one, what you have to do, you have to write down certain points. So point number one, that in the introduction, my point number one is in the introduction, don't pass the judgment. In the introduction, yes, no, etc. Basically, you unfold what is the key demand, what is the ground reality, etc. Why I am saying so? Because what happens that once you pass the judgment in the introduction itself, then in the entire, you can say writing, you try to prove yourself. You don't have to prove yourself, rather you have to explore, you have to discuss, and then you have to close your answer in the conclusion. Rather, introduction should work as conclusion. Introduction cannot be conclusion. Conclusion, judgment आप उसको डिस्कस करने के बाद पास करेंगे. ऐसा नहीं क्या जजमेंट लेने के बाद आप आंसर लिख रहे हैं और जजमेंट देने के बाद आंसर लिख रहे हैं. देयर इज अ वाइड डिफरेंस बिटवीन द टू. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज, डू वी रिकंसाइल आवर ओन डिजायर एंड इंटरेस्ट विद द एथिकल कंसिडरेशन? अब यहां पे आते हैं, मैंने 3 सवाल आपसे पूछे हैं, दैट इलस्ट्रेशन, एक्सप्लेनेशन and critically analyze. Fine. And this is how the whole entire things will change. Why I am doing so? So my point number 2 in the answer writing, why I am asking this. एक तो introduction हमने कहा. दूसरा point number 2, in any question, there are 3 things that you have to take care. There are 3 things that you have to take care. Number 1, concept. Number 2, context. And number 3, instruction. So every question consists of these 3 things. Every question consists of these 3 things. Concept, context, and instruction. So sometimes you will find certain questions are conceptual. You say the बहुत conceptual question है. So it talks only about the concepts. Here also it's mentioned. Certain questions are context heavy. This is context heavy. Whether it can go to, इसमें बहुत ज्यादा egoism और ये सब discuss करने की जरूरत नहीं है क्योंकि ये पूछ ही नहीं रहा आपसे. Though the self-interest is all about ethical egoism or egoism, लेकिन हमको उसमें जाना नहीं है. अगर जाना भी है तो एक लाइन लिख के हम छोड़ देंगे उसमें से. And third very specific thing is that instruction. So in every question you will find that UPSC gives you the instruction that exactly what you have to do. What you have to do. Fine. अगर वो कहती है कि साहब आपको ये करना है तो यही करना है. That's it. So in all the questions you will find that there are certain instructions. Now let's come to you can say bring the clarity. So the first thing first. If in this question, if I say that illustrate, then what will be the structure? बताओ, structure क्या होगा? Let's come to the point very quickly. If I say this question illustrate, then what would be the structure? Structure in the sense how you will write your answer in the sense point 1, 2, 3, 4, XYZ. Very quickly, let's participate. Then only it will make sense.
By introducing that ethics and self-interest are often considered as a conflicting entity. However, they can coexist.
They can coexist. Fine.
Then you can substantiate with one or two examples that how they can coexist. Then we can put a heading that how do we reconcile our own desires with our ethical principles.
But the question is illustrate. So please give the example. Very simple. Tell me. If the question is illustrate, then what kind of example you will give? That's my question to you. Fine? Okay, wonderful. Fine. Somebody is saying online adultery. I will write the example of adultery. Fine. See, it can go together. There are examples. For example, any entrepreneur or business takes care of the environmental responsibility. Their ethics and self-interest, in the sense interest of the business, can go together. Fine. There are philanthropy, examples of the philanthropy that also you can talk about here. That's also, so talks about the self-interest. That talks about CSR also falls in the category of how it serves the interest of the business vis-a-vis ethical practices here. Now, the point is, whenever there is illustrate, what would be the structure? Number one, that you will write the introduction. Number two, the first and the foremost thing is you have to capture the illustration. Now, whatever illustration you write, fine. Further explanation will be based on the inference of it. Inference of it. So structure, I'm talking about the structure. तो अगर आप 150 words लिख रहे हैं, तो आपका जो आंसर होगा वो फर्दर इसके इन्फ्लुएंस पे बेस्ड होगा. So my point number, next point that you have to take care is basically whenever you write, you have to take care of the order and more important, logical correlation. So now onwards, when you write the test, wherever you are writing, I will give you certain 10-15 points on the basis of what you have to check yourself, you have to improve yourself. And that eventually will take care of 120 or 125 marks. आ रहे हैं, marks आ रहे हैं. इस बार भी देखो, जिन लोगों को मैं जानता हूँ, एक लड़की है from this place itself, rank 15, उसकी कॉपी अपलोडेड हो गई. 132 है उसको ethics में. This is itself. I am missing the name of a girl, 113 or 119 or 17 rank है उसका, but her marks in essay is 140. इस साल की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. ये सारे कॉपीज आपको जीएसएस को साइट पे मिल जाएंगे, बट उसको देखने की जरूरत नहीं, वो ज्यादा कंफ्यूजन पैदा करते हैं. But anyway, so here the point is this. Now suppose if I ask here in this case that explain, then what would be the structure? My second question to you, explain. How my answer will change? बताओ. All the online students, tell me. Nikita is saying infra development versus land sustenance. No. Suppose if I say explain. Fine. See, when you say explain, explain simply means unfold or talk the meaning of the questions. That's it. जब भी किसी भी क्वेश्चन में explain लिखा हुआ हो, explain का सिंपल सा मतलब ये होता है कि that what is the key idea in the question, and that you have to simply unfold it and bring more clarity into it. I repeat, explain simply means that you bring more clarity in what is this question is all about. I repeat, what is this question is all about. कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो, पेपर 1, 2, 3, 4, कोई भी हो. Again, I will keep reminding, आपका आंसर स्पेसिफिक तभी होगा जब स्पेसिफिक डिमांड मीट करोगे. So here in this question, then if you write, if this is the same question, then what you will write? Then probably here it will go, and here it will come the complete discussion about the relationship or coexistence. Where you find, where you don't find. Where you find, you don't find. And to substantiate, you will take the example. Now, what is the difference between the first and the second demand? In the first and the second demand is, first says illustrate. So, आपका जो भी discussion होगा, whatever discussion you make, it has to be on the basis of one and only one thing, and that is example, and its inference, not relevance, inference. So whatever you write, it has to be based on the inference, because illustration simply means not simply giving the example. Rather, you give the example and discuss on the basis of its inference. It's not like that its example is going somewhere else and discussion is going somewhere else. And if there is, you can say, disconnect of the logical correlation, probably you will lose half marks or 1 mark. And that's why I said that the whole idea of this 5 days mentorship session is basically to help you that this is go and just say, आप लोगों को पब्लिक डोमेन में वो प्रीवियस ईयर्स के सबके मार्क्स मिल जाएंगे. एंड केयरफुली देखो, तुमको लगेगा यही 5 एरिया है जो फ्लक्चुएशन डिसाइड कर रही है, वो 10 नंबर से लेके 100 नंबर तक जा रही है. तो अगर इस 5 एरियाज में हम चीजों को फिक्स कर लें, if we take care of the certain things, then probably it may take care of my Labasna trip. वहां का ट्रिप का हम इसका ये 5 एरिया का ख्याल रखते हैं, बाकी वो रख लेगा. Fine. So this is what it is. Now let's come to what he was saying, that Ujjwal was saying, that I will go in why not? Why? My third Question to you. Suppose in this question, it's written critically analyze. Critically analyze. Can ethics and self-interest coexist? How do we reconcile our own desires and interests with ethical consideration? Critically analyze. Batao? Discuss this openly. What if it is critically analyze? What should be the approach? And suppose if this answer it's written analyze, then आते हैं ना इस तरह से क्वेश्चन. अगर एनालाइज होता तो क्या होता और क्रिटिकल एनालाइज होता तो क्या होता?
Then what happened? I does not ascertain what happened. In analyze only what is the relation.
Fine. Let's see. Anuj is saying both the side benefits. Pick one side. Explain both. Knowledge saying pros and cons. Fine. See, if it is analyze in this question. In this question, if it is analyze, then what happens? Analyze simply means evaluate, examine the ground reality. Reality, ground reality. Where do you see? How do you see? Where it exists? Fine. But when you say critically examine does not mean criticize, pros and cons, etc. Critically analyze simply means you have to find the point of you can say the disagreement also. There you may call pros and cons. For example, if you say analyze, then I can say that yes, it can analyze. It can coexist. It can coexist. It appears in the practices. And we can substantiate our point. But when it's a critically analyze, then I will say that how culture, globalization, very tough competitive world is the biggest challenge of this coexistence. Coexistence. So here I'm critically analyzing that though the theoretically this idea appears, then in practice it's a very big challenge, and it is mostly it doesn't exist together, and it is not going together because of these reasons. These reasons. Now, in this case, now if you look at my conclusion will change entirely. If it is illustrate, then one sentence is enough. That this question is about the coexistence or relationship between the ethics and the self-interest. It can go together. Fine. But when it says critically analyze, please please understand it, that it simply means you have to take a stand. In the sense, it is conclusion heavy. Mind it. So my next point is, whenever anything where you have to analyze or critically analyze, mind it, it is basically conclusion heavy. Conclusion heavy in the sense you have to conclude. You cannot escape. You cannot escape. Why I am saying this? Because these are the small things you have to take care. That's it, nothing else. Fix it, and at least 50, 60, 70, 80 marks in these 5 areas are done. बहुत बड़ा नहीं है. For example, जैसे ethics में ही देखो, case study में, I will discuss entirely tomorrow with practice. यही solve करेंगे, यही discuss करेंगे. In ethics, conclusion is your execution plan. I repeat my word, in ethics, case study, conclusion use your execution plan. So in the entire spectrum of things, it should appear that how you are going to execute. ये ठीक है, ये गलत है? No, not at all. So when I'm saying that you need to be specific in the answer writing, it simply means you need to understand what is the specific demand. What is the specific demand? अब इसी को हम लोग पूरा का पूरा स्ट्रक्चर करके हम लोग देख लेते हैं यहाँ पे. फाइन. लेट्स से क्रिटिकली एनालाइज होगा तो हमें 4 चीजें लिखनी है. नंबर 1, इंट्रोडक्शन. Number 2, we'll discuss the whole theme. Number 4, I will substantiate my point. And number 5, I will conclude. Fine. अगर ये critically analyze होगा तो यही होगा ना साहब, critically analyze. क्रिटिकल एनालाइज होगा तो ये होगा. सो इंट्रोडक्शन, होल कॉन्सेप्ट, सब्सटेंशिएट एंड दिस. सो व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू राइट दैट अब मैं इसको लिखता हूं अपने पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से. तो मैं क्या करूंगा इसमें, इंट्रोडक्शन इज गोइंग टू बी very simple, very general. Well, I will write the relationship between ethics and self-interest has been a topic of inquiry in ethics for a long time. Very simple. जहां पे हमने सिर्फ अनफोल्ड करके छोड़ दिया, क्योंकि हम जजमेंट नहीं पास कर रहे, हम ये दिखा रहे हैं कि ये इंक्वायरी है साहब, और इसमें भी आपने यही पूछा है कैन. आपने भी तो यही पूछा है ना, कैन. तो इंक्वायरी है साहब इसमें. फाइन. एंड देन I will talk about that. Essentially, this is a question of relationship between ethics and self-interest, because in the contemporary time, our experience says that self-interest dominates over the ethics, or the you can say the standards or the norms or whatever word you use. Right? So my introduction is done. It's done in 20 to 25 words maximum. Means I cannot going to exhaust my more than 2 sentences here. Why I am saying this? Why you should think like this? Because another point, ये छोटे छोटे पॉइंट लिखते रहना, जहां पे मैं कह रहा हूं कि इसको ध्यान रखना, वो अब एक लिस्ट बन जाएगी. जब ये 5 दिन खत्म होगा ना, तो तुम्हारे पास ना वो एक लिस्ट, एक फ्रेमवर्क होगा जिसमें कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. प्लीज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, that for everything you don't have to rush to the book. Merely alertness solves a big, you can say it solves a big problem. जब आप alert होते हैं ना, तो बहुत सारे problem तो ऐसे ही ठीक हो जाता है कि alert हैं आप. Fine. Here, why I am saying this? Because every question, when you read or underline, another thing that you have to mark is where to press more. So the moment you understand it, where to press more, you will avoid these keywords. कीवर्ड के आसपास प्ले करना आप छोड़ देंगे, क्योंकि हर क्वेश्चन का स्पेसिफिक डिमांड है, और स्पेसिफिक डिमांड आप अंडरलाइन करते समय आपको सिर्फ इतना करना है कि वेयर टू प्रेस मोर. इन द सेंस हियर यू नीड टू बी वेरी स्पेसिफिक, फोकस्ड. फाइन. सो हियर आई विल डू गो, देन आई विल डिस्कस अबाउट दिस रिलेशनशिप. हियर आई विल टॉक अबाउट सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट, एंड देन हाउ our self-interest motivates human being. Self-interest motivates human being. Fine. And so I will write the motivation and also the psychological factor that being the human nature per se seeks pleasure, happiness, etc. Sense of security. And so self-interest dominates. सिर्फ हम इतना नहीं लिख सकते हैं कि सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट डोमिनेट करता है. क्यों? देयर आर सर्टेन रीजंस फॉर दैट. फाइन. एंड देन we'll talk about the ethics. Why ethics is important? Ethics has to go together, because ethics serves as giving the direction to the intention, to the practice, to the desire, and also it acts as a policing to control it. If it is uncontrolled, then devastation will happen. Fine. हम यहाँ पे एथिक्स में नहीं जा रहे हैं. व्हाट इज एथिक्स? ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. हम क्या कर रहे हैं, एक क्वेश्चन है जिसपे लिखा हुआ क्रिटिकली एनालाइज, और आज का हमारा थीम क्या है? स्पेसिफिक. हाउ टू बी स्पेसिफिक इन आंसर राइटिंग. हम अपने आंसर को स्पेसिफिक कैसे बनाएं? वी डोंट हैव टू बी इन ए सेंस कीवर्ड्स के आसपास. ये हमने लिखा, एंड देन हम लिखेंगे सब्सटैंशिएट करेंगे। इस सब्सटैंशिएट में हम एग्जांपल लिखेंगे और ये दिखाएंगे कि व्हाट इज द बिग चैलेंजेस, व्हाई इट इज, वेयर इट इज गोइंग टुगेदर or it coexist and why there are challenges or where there are challenges of coexistence. कहां पे coexist नहीं कर रही है, क्यों कर रही है? इंडिविजुअलिज्म है साहब, वेरी टफ कॉम्पिटिटिव वर्ल्ड है साहब, where winning and winning at any cost becomes the guarantee of the success. It's a success. This is a practical example. Fine. In the business also, and in the individual capacity also, in entire career. And then I will pass the judgment. Number one, that coexistence is in the favor of humanity. In the favor of humanity. But there are challenges. There are challenges. And I have to simply say that there are challenges, big challenges, and that's why in most of the cases, it is not going together. और हम कह सकते हैं कि बिजनेस में या XYZ में it is, you can say, in the less and less number we find it. और इसके साथ हम अगर ये भी लिखना चाहें तो लिख सकते हैं कि when it go together what happens, जो आपने पॉजिटिव की बात की, it all depends. Now what he said, now coming to the point कि कंक्लूजन हमें पॉजिटिव ही रखनी चाहिए, पॉजिटिव निगेटिव का डिफरेंस नहीं है। मैं अब बताता हूं आपको कि कंक्लूजन कैसे होगा। आप जो यहां लिखेंगे ना, इसी को तो कंक्लूड करोगे ना। सो इफ यू आर सेइंग हियर इट कैन नॉट गो टुगेदर, you have to talk. If you say it can go together, it cannot go together, depend upon the examples, then accordingly you have to talk about the conclusion. My point is very simple, that there must be a logical correlation between everything from here, and it should meet the demand of this. Very quickly I'm coming to the second point. But suppose if it would have been, ये स्ट्रक्चर बनेगा इसका 4 पॉइंट में, 1 2 3 4, ये 4 पॉइंट होंगे, ये 4 पैराग्राफ होंगे, ये 4 पैराग्राफ होंगे। इसके आपको जहां पे एज मिलेगी वो यहां पे एज आपको यहां मिलेगी। Why? Because everyone will write some or other thing. What makes you in terms of clarity, thinking, edge? It's your perspective. तुम क्लाइमेटिक चेंज और एग्जैक्ट का एग्जांपल देके कुछ नहीं कर सकते हो, सब दे रहा है ना। उसके ऊपर जो आपका कमेंट है या उसका जो इन्फ्लुएंस है, what you are able to see, that's you, that brings the clarity. आंसर में क्लैरिटी वहीं आएगी और वहीं पे आपको एज मिलेगा। Now let's come to the illustrate. अगर ये illustrate होता तो इंट्रोडक्शन ऐसा ही हो सकता था। यहाँ पे डिस्कशन की जगह एग्जाम्पल आ जाएंगे, फाइन। यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल की जगह इसका इन्फ्लुएंस आएगा, फाइन। और इस इन्फ्लुएंस के बेसिस पे आप कंक्लूड करेंगे। अगेन ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग। आप एग्जाम्पल लिखेंगे, इस एग्जाम्पल का इन्फ्लुएंस देंगे और इस इन्फ्लुएंस का आप कंक्लूड करेंगे। दिस इज कॉल्ड ऑर्डर। पॉइंट 1 2 3, there is a logical correlation. In the sense, if you are writing 150 word, it's not scattered. ये बिखरा हुआ नहीं है। इंट्रोडक्शन से लेके कंक्लूजन तक there is a flow, etc. Why I am saying so? Let's my final comment. Then I will move to the another question. In any answer, you have to take care of the 4 things. 4 things. Number 1, clarity. Clarity of the question is demand of the question. Demand of question. ये मैंने बताया कि अगर 3-4 तरह के क्वेश्चंस हो जाएं, डिमांड हो जाएं, तो कैसे चेंज करेगा। क्लैरिटी मींस डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन, यू अंडरस्टैंड। नंबर 2, relevance. Relevance means 2 things: dimension and examples. ठीक है। Depth. Depth means analysis. Analysis of what? This. And 4th is structure. Structure means 2 things: order, किस ऑर्डर में रख रहे हैं, and logical correlation. लॉजिकल कोरिलेशन। जब भी अब लिखोगे अपने घर पे, जब भी प्रैक्टिस करोगे, आपका सेल्फ असेसमेंट ही काम आएगा। कोचिंग से ज्यादा आपकी सेल्फ असेसमेंट काम आएगी। आप अपने को किस तरह से सेल्फ एसेस करें 1 2 3 4 5, क्योंकि अगर आप फैकल्टी से इंटरेक्ट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं तो कई बार आप देखोगे कि सारे में एक ही तरह का कमेंट लिखा हुआ, रेलिवेंट पॉइंट ये वो, उसका कोई मतलब नहीं है। करना क्या है ये बताओ। अगर इवेल्युएशन हम कर रहे हैं चाहे कोई भी कर रहा हो, व्हाट आई नीड टू डू, टेल मी दैट ओनली। ये करना है, और अगर ये गुड है तो क्यों गुड है, दैट्स इट, नथिंग एल्स, मेक इट ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट। फाइन, सो दिस इज माय फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन। मैंने इसमें 4-5 पॉइंट जो कहना था वो मैंने कह दिया। आई विल मूव टू द अनदर क्वेश्चन एंड अनदर आइडिया वेयर आई वांट टू हाईलाइट। मैंने अपने नोटबुक में कुछ कुछ चीजें लिखी हैं जो जो मुझे कॉपी करेक्शन में अब तक समझ में आई। एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट जो मैं यहाँ पे डिस्कस करने वाला था वो ये था कि ज्यादातर कॉपीज में अभी मुझे वाई फैक्टर मिसिंग आ रही है। दे गिव मोर एंड मोर पॉइंट, बट वाई इट इज सो, वाई that is missing. Why does not mean you have to write some 2-3 paragraph. One sentence is enough to show why you are thinking like this, why it is relevant or XYZ. जब तक why factor नहीं होगा तब तक वो आंसर कंप्लीट नहीं हो सकता। Now, yes please go for the question very quickly, then we'll move to another point. Fine. So what's your name? Shubham is saying that can we can I keep my answer open-ended, in the sense it may not. Fine. Mind it one thing. Questions will be open-ended. Fine. Your answer cannot be open-ended. You will discuss very, very specific. That's why I am saying answer कभी भी open-ended नहीं होता है. For example, अगर आपको ये लिखना भी है कि can it go coexist or not. So here you can talk about the cultural factor. Fine. In cultural factor, the culture brings the subjectivity in the ethics, and so self-interest can be viewed from the different point of view. But then the question still will remain, can it go together or not? फिर भी क्वेश्चन तो वही रहा ना, तो कुछ तो लिखना पड़ेगा ना आपको, कुछ तो लिखना पड़ेगा ना शुभम. So my point is here Shubham is saying that can I write open-ended answer, in the sense it can, it cannot. But you will have to substantiate. This is what I'm saying. कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो पूछो, फटाफट पूछो. Means?
Can ethics and self-interest coexist? Can you critically evaluate or explain after a question versus ethics and self-interest coexist? So stop critically. The first, having two directions in the same question, that I found conflicting in it. So was it wrong to say that that they having two direction statements in words in a question would basically create a conflict in what one said?
Fine, but it happens in UPSC also. You will find that there are 3-4 statements sometimes given, and all the statements are not aligned. बहुत सारे एक क्वेश्चन में देखो 4 डिमांड है, 3 डिमांड है. Fine, it happens. So here I'm not saying that exactly you can say these kind of questions will be asked. My whole idea is basically here whatever I experienced after the copy correction, I'm going to highlight all those points that you have to take care. So यहाँ पे मैं सिर्फ ये कहने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ that what does mean by specific when it is explained, illustrate, critically analyze, etc. So by taking some 5-6 question only out of 12-13 question, I will take only 5-6 question. In 5-6 question, we'll discuss entire do's and don'ts. Where do's and don'ts is not something I can say the template. I am completely against the template. एक होता है ना कि template बनाना. I am not saying any template. कि चाहे क्वेश्चन कैसा भी है हम यही चिपका के आएंगे. This is not a good idea. Good idea. मेरे किसी डिस्कशन में ये देखोगे भी नहीं that I say that this is the only way to do it. I always say rather one sentence. I always use that if there are 1,000 students, there could be 1,000 ways. I always say. क्योंकि ये मेरा लिमिटेड एक्सपीरियंस कहता है सर. इतने सिलेक्टेड लोग हैं। ये फालतू बात है, किसी की कॉपी मिलती नहीं है यार। और ये तो मैं आपको मैं आज कह रहा हूं ऑन रिकॉर्ड, विल मीट आफ्टर द रिजल्ट। फाइन, सर्टेनली कुछ लोगों से तो जरूर मुलाकात हो जाएगी, बिकॉज सम ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स आर वेरी क्लोज। यू विल फाइंड in the history of UPSC that this year is going to witness the maximum high and low. Just wait and watch. And just because of the social media and the coaching narratives, क्योंकि वो एक टिपिकल वे में वाइड हो गया, तो सबके कॉपी एक ही जैसे आ रहा है। पॉइंट 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 पॉइंट, अपने आप से पूछो ना, देखो पॉइंट 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 यू राइट, जो हमें कॉपी करेक्शन हो रहा है, रेलेवेंट रेलेवेंट, गुड गुड गुड, इम्प्रूव, पुट एग्जाम्पल, इलस्ट्रेट, तो सब तो एक ही जैसा हो गया ना, सभी तो एक ही जैसा हो गया। मेरा कहने का आज का जो सेशन का या ये 5 days का जो सेशन है, उसमें से पर्पस यही है कि अलग अलग डे पे अलग अलग थीम है, जिससे हम ये बता सके कि आप ये जो वेरिएशन है 10 marks to 100 marks इसी एरियाज में है, हाउ टू फिल इट, हम करेंगे कैसे, rather than giving the ज्ञान। ये भी मैं एक प्रैक्टिकल एक्सरसाइज ही है ना, एक क्वेश्चन लिया, डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, फिर हम आगे बढ़ेंगे, फिर डिस्कस करेंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल टुमारोज थीम इज टिपिकली objectivity, how to maintain objectivity in case study, because case study is not about problem decision making, it's more about effective decision making process, effective decision making process। जैसे मैं अभी एक सेलेक्टेड कैंडिडेट है, उनकी कॉपी मेरे पास आई, मैंने क्रॉस करके भेज दिया, जो मैं अभी बता रहा हूँ था। सी कॉल्ड मी कि सर कि ऐसा क्यों, हमने कहा ऐसा क्यों, तुमने क्यों लिखा ये बताओ। उसने कहा कि सर कि देयर इज अ वेरी पॉपुलर नैरेटिव इन द in among the students that take 2 extremes and then 1 middle path, and this is what the case is. I said ki it may be, but it depends, but always you cannot take the extreme. Now for example, you are a police officer and there is a communal violence, fine, can you say I will do nothing, ignore, likh sakte ho, it's also a decision, but whether is it a good decision to give the marks, fine, but suppose if there is a question of whistle blowing and you say, and it's very important in the interest of the company, but you say that I will not blow the whistle because my life is at risk, it is also extreme, but there is a point of justification, since my life is at risk so I will avoid। यहाँ जस्टिफिकेशन ये भी एक्सट्रीम है ना। तो सिर्फ एक जो पॉपुलर नैरेटिव है कि एक्सट्रीम कह देने से और लिख लेने से नहीं होगा ना भाई। इट्स नॉट, एक पुलिस ऑफिसर है, राइट हो गया, कैसे लिखोगे यार आई विल डू नथिंग, सिर्फ एक टेम्पलेट चल रहा है कि आई विल डू दिस, आई विल नॉट डू दिस, एंड देन फाइनली आई विल डू दिस अकॉर्डिंग टू द लॉ। बट एनीवे यू आर आस्किंग क्वेश्चन, प्लीज गो अहेड। क्या फिर से बताओ। दे सकते हैं, क्रिटिकल एनालाइज में दे सकते हैं, इलस्ट्रेशन में भी दे सकते हैं। व्हाट ही इज सेइंग दैट कैन वी गिव ए सजेशन सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग, डेफिनेटली यस, नो डाउट अबाउट इट। अगेन आई एम सेइंग you can do it, but you have to take care of one thing, simply that where you have to press more, स्पेसिफिक कहां पे। क्वेश्चन को अंडरलाइन करते समय, पढ़ते ही समय आप डबल टिक मार दो, दैट हियर आई हैव टू फोकस। कोई अपना सिंबल होगा ना दिमाग में, हैशटैग लगा दिया या XYZ कर दिया, या हमने कोई एरो मार दिया, जहां पे हमको पता है कि इसका सिंपल मतलब है कि मेरा दिमाग यहीं चलना चाहिए। माइंड इट, आप लोगों में से जितने लोगों ने भी मेंस दिया होगा, आप सोच नहीं सकते वहां पे, क्योंकि टाइम ही नहीं है। एक बार आपने सर झुकाया तो वो 3 घंटे के बाद ही उठेगा। And before coming to the next question, I tell you, UPSC always play with the psychology of the students rather than simply the content. You see, the last year, everyone says that paper 4 were exhaustive. ये था ना, पेपर 4 एग्जॉस्टिव था ना। सिर्फ पेपर 4 एग्जॉस्टिव नहीं था, यूपीएससी की साइकोलॉजी देखो। यू गो, आप लिखना स्टार्ट करते हैं यूपीएससी में, ऐसे 1 2 3 4, 3 घंटे 12 घंटे जब आपने लिख लिया ना, तब वो पेपर 4 एग्जॉस्टिव बना रहा है। इन द सेंस, जिसे हम हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, हाफने के बाद वो कह रहा है कि दौड़ के दिखाओ। मैंने, तुम थक चुके हो, दिमाग काम नहीं कर रहा है। जितने भी मेंस दिया हो, ये चोक हो जाता है, घुसता ही नहीं है कुछ। उसको सिर्फ तीसरे दिन सिर्फ ये लगता है कि यार कि मैं एग्जामिनेशन हॉल से बाहर निकलूं, कहीं चाय पीऊं, जिसको सिगरेट पीना वो सिगरेट पिएगा, और थोड़ा सा लेगा कि यार ऑप्शनल में 3 दिन का गैप है, हे भगवान। दिस इज व्हाट दे डू। दे कैन मेक पेपर 1 आल्सो एग्जॉस्टिव ना, हिस्ट्री ज्योग्राफी है, लेकिन कभी देखा आपने बनाते हुए? नहीं बनाता। जहां दे थक गए हो दौड़ के दिखाओ, you can do so, but please let's come. Yes, Ramfi, you can do so. Yes, please.
Considering we are students, how can we write that law calendar should be done? It doesn't match with the demand of
Personal integrity.
laws, strengthening the law framework doesn't.
नहीं, मैं वो उन्होंने AI का एग्जांपल दिया ना, वो मैंने क्या कहा आपको कि आप जो एग्जांपल देंगे उसी के इन्फ्लुएंस पे ही तो बात करोगे ना। अगर वो जो भी एग्जांपल जो भी देगा, he is talking about the AI, can it be self interest, और बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं। So the point is basically जो आप एग्जांपल देंगे उसी का इन्फ्लुएंस पे आप बात करोगे, that's it. Fine. Let's come to the another question, please. Question number 2 and question number 3 and 4 I will take together. Question number 3 and 4 मैं चैट बॉक्स में डाल दे रहा हूं, just a moment. Fine. Let's come to question number 3 and 4. My next point is in the answer writing. Is basically a statement based questions. Next is a statement based questions. Fine. So you will see that everywhere, every year, without any exception, you will find at least 3 to 4 questions and sometimes 6 questions also they have asked, which is a statement based questions. Statement based questions. Ramify Singh, though no directive word is given. I'm coming. Just wait. ये test series नहीं है. I'm coming. So in the statement based question, you will find that there are 3 scenarios. Scenario number 1, when a statement is given, but who said, in which context, everything is minus, absent, completely absent. Fine. Completely absent. Yes. AC चलाना. केवल थोड़ा AC चलाया था. So the point number 1, the first scenario is when the statement is there, fine, but who said, in which context, nobody knows. You don't know. Fine. Scenario number 2, when you know who said, but you don't know the context. Fine. Third scenario, when UPSC gives you both the things, a statement भी है, who said भी दिया हुआ है और ऊपर में लिखा हुआ है in the context of a working civil servant or contemporary context or anything. So there are 3 possibilities in the statement based question. But the question is here, whatever they ask, two things are very, very consistent. Number one, that whenever any statement-based question comes, the first thing first, whether you understand the meaning of it or not, because UPSC doesn't give the meaning. Number one, to explain it, what is the context you have? And number three, what examples, illustration you give to explain it further. These three things will remain consistent whatever statement-based question comes to you. ये चेंज नहीं होगा. किसी न किसी मीनिंग, किसी हर स्टेटमेंट बेस में टॉपिक का मीनिंग तो होगा ही होगा. मीनिंग को एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए कोई ना कोई कंटेक्स्ट तो पिक करना पड़ेगा. Some or other context. Fine. And to bring clarity and to substance, you have to bring the examples. So these three things are important. Whatever thinker, plain questions, whatever comes. Statement-based question. Fine. Number one. Number two, whenever a statement-based question comes to you, the first thing first in the introduction, the first task of the introduction and the introduction is that you should talk about the meaning. There is no second thought about it. चाहे ऑप्शनल हो, पेपर 1 हो, पेपर 4 हो, कुछ भी हो, स्टेटमेंट में क्वेश्चन का पहला रूल है that introduction has to be the meaning. In the sense you clearly convey to the examiner that you understand what this statement is all about. You understand the statement. उसके बाद तुमको जो लिखना लिखो. Fine. So let's come to the point here. So Samvaj was saying कि आपने इंस्ट्रक्शन इसमें नहीं दिया. इंस्ट्रक्शन इसलिए नहीं दिया क्योंकि ये टेस्ट सीरीज नहीं है. इंस्ट्रक्शन अब दूंगा मैं बातचीत में, और अगले 1 घंटे में हम लोग इसको सम अप भी करेंगे. फाइन. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट नाउ. Sakshi will discuss it. Just a moment. We'll discuss it. Last year question. We'll discuss it. So the first thing first. The question is, in the matter of style, swim with the current. In the matter of principle, stand like a rock. A rock. My first question to you, what is the meaning of this statement?
How should one react when it comes to when it comes to a question of principles? Should not be rigid. One should be rigid that, and when it comes to the way of doing based upon this, one should have it.
Maybe two types of principle. One is core principle, always stick to that. There is
Principle which is variable. So, बताओ उज्जवल. हाँ.
प्रिंसिपल का मतलब है वो है लाइक जो एसक्यूएल स्टैंडर्ड जो भी यूनिवर्सल है वो हमेशा रहती है. लाइक in the way of living and
fine.
Like
Now what happens? I'm coming to it. जैसा उन्होंने कहा कि उज्जवल की this question is all over जैसा देश वैसा बेस. Fine. Now when you say this all, the second most important thing, मैं meaning पे आ रहा हूँ अभी. The question is here also the context. Now what happens that probably this is the most important thing in the statement based question that decides your marks. For example, as you said, you rightly said that this question is all about two things: adaptability and steadfastness. That you are firm. यही है ना सब, ये कह रहा है ना. In matter of style, swim with the current. In matter of principle, stand like a rock. Firmness. ये कह रहा है style, swim with the current. Adaptability. Fine.
so that is foreign policy. There is two principles, one principle, one is that we stick to our core principle like probability, integrity, and like flow with the current, what is current geopolitical situation, we go like that.
So what's the name? Rahul is saying that he will talk about the foreign policy. That in foreign policy, how we change certain things according to the situation, and we are not, you can say, able to compromise, or we should not compromise with the sovereignty, etc. Fine. Anything else? Anyone else? Anyone else? So you want to talk about Aurobindo and Mahatma Gandhi. Anyone else? Khushi is saying that the best example would be our aspirations should change. Aspirations, a strategy relation. Okay, fine. You want to talk about Sridharan? Fine.
The way of that the quality of the material.
नहीं, अच्छा example नहीं हुआ. He's saying that he will talk about the Sridharan, that he was very flexible कि metro कैसे बनना है और क्या material use होगा, but he was very firm about certain things.
Stabilizing both the demand and the stability of the what is happening to the policy process.
See, why I'm saying this, asking this, and why I'm discussing in this way, because it will, again, I'm saying you, it was not to give gyan in the initial beginning itself. I told you to expose to in a certain way, so that you know exactly what to do. That's it. And then you go just read those 500 questions whenever you have time, little bit limited. It will help you to recollect and then go and write test. I bet on behalf of you only, you will find that there is improvement. इसको करना है, इसको नहीं करना है, इसको स्पेसिफिक करना है. That's it. उसके बाद तुमको जो 2-3 टेस्ट लिखना है, PYQ लिखना है, मेरे साथ डिस्कस करना है, whatever it is. Take my phone number 9582778114. Do it and fix it. ये यहाँ problem आ रही है. That's it. Very specific. But anyway, now point is here. My point is here that in these type of exam or questions, the quality of example is the key. Is the key. And two things you have to take care. Number one, that whatever example you give, it has to be very close to the meaning of the statement. And number two, whatever you do or write, it has to be bring the maximum clarity. Maximum clarity. Maximum clarity. For example, he is saying something. He is saying, you can say international relation, XYZ. Suppose if I am your student and you are correcting my evaluating Manoj's copy. The first thing first, you will see and you will judge me that whether I understand the meaning of this statement or not. Fine. And number two, in the illustration example, there is no ambiguity or vagueness. What you are saying is not wrong, but it's vague. It's vague. So my next point is here, the point which I wanted to highlight, that whenever you write, here it's not about good, bad, right, wrong. Don't fall in the trap of this, क्योंकि peer pressure में वो echo करेगा. जब भी तुम लाइब्रेरी में बैठोगे, चाय पीने जाओगे तो वही बातचीत होगी. और वो जब बातचीत होगी ना, तो ऐसा करना है, ऐसा नहीं करना, ये करना, वो करना. No, not at all. Evaluate on the basis of two things. Number one, the clarity, that whatever example I am giving, is it clear? There is no vague, etc. And number two, effectiveness. Always judge yourself in terms of effectiveness. Fine. So let's come back to the point here. Fine. Now, my question to you here, that in the given question, suppose I write here that discuss the essence of this statement in the application of, or discuss the application of this meaning of this statement. Suppose if I say discuss the application of application of this statement, that's it, nothing else. It may be contemporary life, it may be civil servant, it may be anything else. So if I say discuss the application of this statement, how you will structure your answer? My question is this, about the structure, not about the meaning. Meaning is already discussed. So let's come to the point next, that how to structure the statement based questions. But very quickly. Okay, number one. So you say meaning. ये तो हमने डिस्कस कर लिया था दो. Example. Fine. Now, यहाँ पे जो एग्जाम्पल होगा ना, वो एग्जाम्पल always do remember, वो एग्जाम्पल होगा according to the instruction given in the question. For example, अगर सपोज करो इस क्वेश्चन में हम ये लिखते हैं कि that analyze this statement in the context of working civil servant, in the context of contemporary life, in the context of political scenario or politics. Suppose हो सकता है ना, हो सकता है ये application में. So my next point is here that whenever you have to write examples, always do remember that whether the context is given. If the context is not given by the UPSC, that in particular that context you have to do so, then you are free to do so. तब तुम फ्री हो, तुमको जैसा जो लिखना है लिखो. लेकिन अगर एग्जाम्पल जाएगा इसमें तो वो जाएगा जहां पे कंटेक्स्ट मेंशन है. That's it. Very simple. So my next point is here that in the statement based question, everything is context and the meaning. Context plus meaning. Why? Because whatever you do with that or whatever treatment you bring in terms of explanation, in terms of examination, in terms of examples, in terms of illustration, it has to be on the basis of the context. So my next point is here that whenever any question comes to you in the examination, which is a statement based question, you have to clearly identify two things. Number one, the meaning, which is not given in any case, but context may not be given. So you have to be simply underline or mark it simply the context, that your brain, in your brain, one thing should echo, and that is context. कि बॉस मुझे ये क्वेश्चन इस कंटेक्स्ट में लिखना है. So context becomes the key of everything. Everything will be in and around the context and the meaning. Fine. So next question. The time is always right to do what is right. हाँ बताओ ना पूछो. हाँ 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 और इसमें काफी होता है ऐसा. दोनों ही हो सकते उज्जवल. What Ujjwal is saying that sometimes it may happen that I know the statement who gave and which context what I shall do, and UPSC is not asking any particular thing. Number one, feel free to talk about that particular context, fine, but don't bind yourself in that context. Try to see the application of that in the other context also. Other context also. For example, Aristotle talks about the virtue. So in virtue question, you can talk about the Aristotle, but it's not only about Aristotle. एक question है अभी, उस पे आते हैं. हाँ.
Most of the statements is looking at people spend like a lot. मैं इसको मुझे लगता है ये एक हद तक गलत है कर सकते. तो ये हर स्टेटमेंट में हो सकता है. कई बार तो कई लोग होता है कि लड़ाई करता है कि आपको गाइड नहीं जाना है, और कई बार कई लोग लिखा नहीं करता है.
So you should go with the meaning of the statement, because whenever you say, you can say a statement where questions are there, you will hardly find they say critically analyze. You go and check. कभी भी देखोगे, कभी भी बहुत रेयर आपने देखा होगा, जस्ट गो एंड चेक मॉरल थिंकर पे देखिए उन्होंने ये लिखा है क्रिटिकली एनालाइज. अगर क्रिटिकली एनालाइज होगा तो स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चन नहीं है, फिर वो एक पूरा फ्रेम क्वेश्चन देंगे, कंटेक्स्ट देंगे एंड देन क्रिटिकली एनालाइज. व्हाट उज्जवल इज सेइंग दैट समटाइम्स he thinks that why not to contradict, in the sense in you can say it says that in matters of principle stand like a rock. This is what he is saying. Fine. So he's saying I can contradict also here. Yes, you can contradict, but here the question is not of the contradiction, that in what are the things in the life where personal integrity or integrity matters. Integrity matters. Fine. For example, if you see the conduct rule of civil services 1964, it's section 3, section 3A or 2, I'm missing exactly, but it talks about civil servant should not do XYZ which is unbecoming of a civil servant. Fine. शाह फैजल को जो नोटिस गई थी वो भी इसी लाइन पे गया था. You should not do which is unbecoming of a civil servant. It simply means it talks about absolute integrity. Form like a rock. कुछ जगहों पे ये एब्सोल्यूट इंटीग्रिटी की बात करते हैं कि साहब ये चीज कंप्रोमाइज नहीं हो सकती, So Ujjwal, the issue is basically that the statement based question here, if there is no critically analyzed sort of thing and the question is not to challenge it, you are not required to challenge it. Wherever it says you to challenge it, and if you can, do it. And that's why I said in the beginning, specific. जहां पे specific demand होगा ना, उसी के हिसाब से अपने आप को ब्रेन को ट्रेन करते चलना है. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. और ये जो अगला 10-15 दिन होगा ना, वो यही है. आपको जो करना है वो सिर्फ इतना ही करना है. जो आपका सारा दिन का दिनचर्या है, whatever the routine you have of the whole day, you keep it whole day, but you just simply say that just close your eyes and remind yourself do's and don'ts, because here at least now you will have to take a position. क्या करना है, क्या नहीं करना है, क्या मेरी स्ट्रेंथ है, क्या मेरी वीकनेस है, क्या चीज को मुझे अवॉइड करना है, इस चीज को मुझे अवॉइड करना है. So at least you should be very clear about it. Yes, please.
Give instruction to style according to situation.
See, I do agree. There is no contradiction. He is saying that I will talk about the Gandhi and his principle of non-violence. What I'm trying to say here, my point is very simple. That is example. Please try to understand. First, you will talk about the meaning, and then whatever you want to say to substantiate that, you will talk about the example, na sir? तो करो, कोई इशू नहीं है उसमें. Yes, हो सकता है. But Gandhi was not to swim in the current. ऐसा नहीं था कि वो हर बार स्टैंड चेंज कर रहे थे. कुछ प्रिंसिपल्स उनके बहुत फिक्स थे और उस प्रिंसिपल पे उन्होंने कंप्रोमाइज नहीं किया. जैसे सर्वोदय उनका एक प्रिंसिपल था, वेलफेयर ऑफ ऑल थ्रू ऑल, था ना. यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है, यस, तो दोनों ही एस्पेक्ट है ना इसमें, दोनों ही एस्पेक्ट. क्वेश्चन नंबर नेक्स्ट, just very quickly, we'll move very fast now. So the time is always right to do what is right. What does mean by it? As you said, that sometimes I know the statement. This statement is very famous of Martin Luther King Jr., जो सिविल राइट मूवमेंट के समय उन्होंने कहा था कि भाई कि the time is always right. What is right? But the important is here that now here you will find a lot of things where you will go with the subjective thing, because what is right and right is very subjective, very, very subjective. Again, I am saying you the point where I wanted to bring you that please try to understand that in the statement based question, context is everything. Because here also the context, according to the context, we will say that there are certain rights, a certain right which cannot be compromised, because when it comes to the you can say the civil right movement, or you can say apartheid or XYZ, it's a right. It's a right. When it is in the interest of the society, public interest, or you can say the national interest, you will have to talk differently than the other things. So my point is, please try to understand the point where I wanted to bring you in the second set of discussion now is, एक हमने critical analyze देख लिया, illustrate देख लिया. Second में मेरा कहने का सिर्फ ये मतलब है कि that whenever a statement based question comes to you, it's the context which will decide everything. उसकी जो मीनिंग होगी वो चेंज नहीं हो सकता, लेकिन मीनिंग के बाद जो भी होगा, explanation, illustration, everything, you should be very clear about the context that I am going to discuss. Agar UPSC context de deti, then becomes very, very, you can say, it's a very easy. Things becomes easy. But UPSC is also playing. Sometimes it gives, sometimes it doesn't. So my point is this, मान ले सकते हैं, बिल्कुल लो ना, सबसे अच्छा रहेगा. In the context of the public service, civil services, it's always better, because this examination is all about this, na? उसको explain तो करोगे ना? Yes, explain. और जो भी instruction होगा, मैं बार-बार कह रहा हूँ, I will remind you, Joel, that there are 3 things that you will have to take care in the coming days. That every question has 3 components: concept, context, and instruction. ये 3 का ध्यान रखना. अभी से जब प्रैक्टिस कर रहे होगा ना कि हमको कहां पे फोकस करना है और हमें किस डायरेक्शन में जाना है. डायरेक्शन इज इंस्ट्रक्शन. इधर घूमो, यू टर्न लो, सीधा जाओ, लेफ्ट लो, राइट लो, दैट इज इंस्ट्रक्शन. Generally you will find you go and spare some time whenever you have time, half an hour. आप जहां भी टेस्ट लिख रहे हैं, जो भी लिख रहे हैं, सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम आप देखिएगा वहीं पे होती है. जो कॉपी एवेल्युएशन वो भी इग्नोर कर रहा है और आप भी इग्नोर कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि वो हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ कॉन्सेप्ट और पॉइंट पे हैं. गुड पॉइंट, गुड एग्जांपल, दैट्स इट, हो गया, बात खत्म हो गया. और मेरा बार बार यही कहना है कि that in the next 3-4 days I am going to tell you that how this 10 to 100 marks variation होती कहाँ पे है, कहाँ पे होती है. That's it. So please come to the question number 11. Question number 11. In next 30 minutes we'll sum up. Fine. जहाँ पे आप लोग क्वेश्चन पूछने के लिए फ्री हैं, you can ask as many questions as you can. So my next question is, let me take it. Here is the question in the chat box. Fine. So read along with me. Most of the cases of rape, murder, business fraud, and other heinous crimes are occurring today because there is an increasing ethics-free zone available in the society in which actions are no longer determined by consideration of the consequences for the others. Rather, the perpetrator of the act feel free from any boundaries, and therefore it is entitled to act as he wishes. What is meant by ethics-free zone, and how do we bring human act within the zone of ethics? Fine. Now my next point is here. Next set of questions that you see in the examination is solution seeking. Solution seeking. So solution seeking questions are not, or doesn't want to discuss the you can say the concept as such. Rather, it wants to discuss the context which is given, and more important is the solution. Right? Now, for example, if you look at why I framed this question, because 2 years back you will find UPSC has framed a question that despite having an you can say many stringent laws, there is an increasing case of domestic violence, sexual harassments, etc. What is your practical suggestion to improve the situation? This was the question. Somewhat fine. Now here also, if you see, this question may be about the culture, attitude, etc. Somewhere in the underlying context you can find तुमको वो touch मिलेगा attitude का भी एक जहाँ पे एक who cares वाला attitude है, but you don't have to discuss that क्योंकि वो पूछ ही नहीं रहा. So my next point is here, or otherwise you tell me, उसके बाद मैं discuss करता हूँ. इसमें लिखेंगे क्या? फिर मैं discuss करता हूँ. क्या लिखेंगे बताओ? Question is very clear, very clear. Okay, so what is ethics free zone? Shukam, no, he is saying that corporate governance loopholes is ethics free zone. No.
The places where there are your anonymous, especially those which act as a free zone where you can get live.
Ethics free zone simply means you can say people are engaged in activities without considering its consequences. Ethics free zone also simply means where in the culture or the setting in which the ethical you can say the boundaries are almost vanished. This is the general meaning of the the ethics free zone. In the sense, it's simply context with the other one. It simply means you are not at all, or someone is not at all considering the value importance of these principles, and that's why it is not considering the consequences also, whether it is case of the heinous crime or anything else. But the most important point is here. The second is, how do we bring human act within the zone of the ethics? एक कह रहा है कि ethics free है, एक है zone of the ethics है. How to bring from here to here? इसमें हम यहाँ से उठा के हम ऐसे यहाँ पे कैसे फिट करें इसको? Tell me. बता दे चलो. बताओ कैसे? Point 1, 2, 3. This is what I am saying. Point 1, 2, 3. This question, as rightly said by the Nitin also here, that this question is about one and only one thing, and that is moral conditioning. This question is about this. So my next point in solution seeking, मैं अलग-अलग तरह के questions उठाता चल रहा हूँ. Please try to understand. और उसमें मैं ये highlight कर रहा हूँ कि आपको questions को देखना कैसे है. I'm not saying that this is the only way to write it. Please, in the beginning itself, I had told you that if there are 1,000 students, there are 1,000 ways. There are 1,000 ways. But the point is here that whenever any solution seeking questions are there, fine. Number one, the first thing first, you need to be very specific about the problem. Problem has to be very specific. Fine. Because if you are not writing or understanding a problem is specific, then your solution cannot be specific, because in any solution seeking questions, it has to be very, very specific suggestions, because that's why it is a solution. कह ही रहा है ना कि भाई ethics zone में आप कैसे लेके आएंगे, समझ model conditioning की बात कर रही है साहब. Number one. Number two, now here are two things. Number one, you may find the ideal conditions. Fine. And you may also think of the practical things. Practical simply means not minus ideal, rather than you simply has to find the constraints. So whenever you seek solutions or you write, please try to mention the challenges and the constraint also. Constraint also. For example, as you said, that rule of the law, or you can say law strengthening or implementation is important. Fine. Yes, of course. But then how you will explain it? Because law ensures the minimum morality. Law is no guarantee of, you can say, the morality, but ensures minimum morality. But for that, the respect for the law is important. By coercive method, you cannot correct everything through the law. That is the challenge. अगर ऐसा होता तो law तो है ही ना यार, वो ठीक हो गया रहता. And so respect for the law is very, very important. If it is not, then despite it is there, you will find that some or other way the culture is there to ignore it. Ignore it. Traffic rule में देख लो ना, बहुत जगह पे ऐसे तुमको मिलेंगे ऐसा. Fine. Number one. Number two, in any solution seeking questions here, the next important point is here, that whenever you suggest, you try to you can say understand the specific context, and example has to be in that only. अगर ये example heinous crime का दे रहा है, तो आप heinous crime के zone में ही रहिए साहब. आप trivial issue में मत फंसिए उसमें, क्योंकि अगर जाके पिछले 4-5 साल के क्वेश्चंस देखोगे तो 2019 के बाद से उनके क्वेश्चंस जो है हर साल 2 या 3 क्वेश्चंस सॉल्यूशन सीकिंग के आने लगे हैं, जहां पे वो तुमसे सॉल्यूशन मांग रहा है. सॉल्यूशन तो हर में है, सारे क्वेश्चन में कहीं ना कहीं सॉल्यूशन ही देना है, लेकिन ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम आपके सामने रख दिया गया है, कंटेक्स्ट रख दिया गया है और तुमसे कह रहा है कि सॉल्यूशन दो. व्हाट इज द सॉल्यूशन? सो माय पॉइंट इज इन दिस सॉल्यूशन, नंबर वन, प्रॉब्लम हैज टू बी वेरी स्पेसिफिक. नंबर टू, whenever you give suggestions, please try to understand the limitations of the suggestions also. That's the only thing I want to say here. So now in this context, now you suggest what are the points you will write. बताओ अब इस context में please answer. Janvika is saying that moral science, fine. Moral education, fine. Huh? Gender sensitivity, लेकिन heinous crime है ना, heinous crime में murder भी तो आता है, डकैती भी आती है. क्वेश्चन में लिखा हुआ है वर्ड, देखो ना, ये लिखा हुआ बिजनेस फ्रॉड भी है, तो इसमें जेंडर तो आएगा नहीं ना. ठीक है, यस यू कैन डू, यस. बताओ, एनीवे बताओ ना, तुम आंसर बताओ, अब क्या लिखोगे बताओ. सो यू कैन से एथिकल लिटरेसी, चलो मॉरल एजुकेशन मान लो, पॉइंट नंबर 1. और सोशल कंट्रोल, वंडरफुल. ओके. My next point, in the solutions always you will find that when these type of question comes to you, always some 5-10 points runs in your mind. तुम देखना कभी तुरंत सबकॉन्शियस माइंड में ना 1 2 3 4 आ जाता है, ये भी लिखेंगे, ये भी लिखेंगे, ये भी लिखेंगे. जैसे आपने कहा ना शॉर्ट टर्म लॉन्ग टर्म, तो शॉर्ट टर्म तुम्हारे दिमाग में आ गया होगा, लॉन्ग टर्म में ये करेंगे, ये करेंगे. Instead of going for a long list of things, please fix yourself on certain things. Number 1. Number 2, try to always make a heading or points which is umbrella concept. Umbrella concept मैं एक vague word use कर रहा हूँ, so that a similar kind of idea can be brought together. For example, that socialization. The word is socialization. If you write that socialization and ethics, if I write, or socialization and moral inculcation. Fine. कुछ जब हम इस तरह के headings बनाते हैं तो कई similar points मैं एक जगह लिख सकता हूँ. So my point number next is that avoid wastage of words through thinking the heading. जहां पे हम सॉल्यूशन प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं इतना ट्रिवियल में नहीं जा रहे हैं, तो उसी में हमने मॉरल एजुकेशन, मॉरल कंडीशनिंग, सोसाइटी, फैमिली एक ही जगह ले लिया, रादर देन हम रिपीटेशन में जा रहे हैं. तो हमने रिपीटेशन अवॉइड की अपनी इसमें से. नंबर 2, जब हम इस तरह की चीजें लिखेंगे इसमें से, नंबर 2, you can say in the solution, the next point in the solution is you have to see whether it is directly solving the problem or not, or anything is vague sort of thing. Vague solution जब भी हम देंगे तो vague नहीं हो सकता, नहीं हो सकता. अगर लगता है कि सोशलाइजेशन में वेगनेस आ रही, हटा दो, सिर्फ लिखो मॉरल एजुकेशन. मॉरल एजुकेशन फॉर एग्जांपल, जैसे जितने आप लोगों ने एग्जांपल दिया उसमें मैं एक ऐड पॉइंट करता हूं, यू कैन से रोल मॉडल्स इन द सोसाइटी. Role models in the society, that how society celebrate and who are the role models of the society. क्योंकि उसका इन्फ्लुएंस है ना, तो हमें बताना पड़ेगा उसमें से. So my point is very simple here. Number 1, प्रॉब्लम के बारे में बहुत स्पेसिफिक रहो, सॉल्यूशन के बारे में बहुत स्पेसिफिक रहो, फाइन, रिपीटिशन अवॉइड करो, एंड लास्ट पॉइंट is basically that you have to take care of one and only one thing in the explanation, that please try to see the limitation, challenges, constraint also. You don't make your answers on high moral plateau. High moral plateau जहां पे ये दिख रहा है कि हर चीज अच्छा है और हर चीज आसान है, आसान है, हम उसके प्रैक्टिकल कंस्ट्रेंट्स को भी हम कंसीडर करेंगे. दैट्स इट, नथिंग एल्स. फाइन.
Making law stringent and expanding that because law provides a essential minimum evidence in the society. Basically explaining that measure. So what should be the approach to that we should use in answer writing only the statement that the law's provision should be strengthened, as or we should expand it and write that as it ensures the common minimum evidence.
Exactly, इस तरह से लिखना है. इतना ही आने चाहिए. My next point is what he is saying, that in any answer you are writing or any point you are writing, my next point which has to you just taken just keep in mind, your every point has to be self-explanatory. For example, in case study you go and check your answer. At many places you write will take strict action. Strict माने क्या? फांसी पे लटका दोगे, फाइन करोगे, डिसिप्लिनरी लोगे, प्यूनिटिव क्या होगी वो तो बताओगे ना यार. मैं बार प्लीज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द होल पर्पस ऑफ दिस मेंटरशिप सेशन इज बेसिकली टू हाईलाइट वेयर टू टेक एज. ये 10 से 100 नंबर का जो वेरिएशन है कहाँ पे, और हम उसको कैसे फिक्स कर सकते हैं. मैंने पहले ही कहा यही है 5 दिन, यही है 5 दिन. जैसे इस सेशन के बाद आप उस क्वेश्चन को पढ़िए, रिकॉल कीजिए और उसको आंसर लिखने के बाद जाओ, देखो तुम्हारा आंसर इंप्रूव करता है या नहीं करता. केस स्टडी में कल क्लास के अंदर ही हम इंप्रूव करेंगे ही करेंगे यहाँ पे लिखे, क्योंकि केस स्टडी में भाषण तो है नहीं ना. आप लिखो, डिस्कस करो, बात खत्म है. यू गिव इट ए कॉपी टू मी, आई विल करेक्ट इट. सो बट एनीवे, so let's come to the point. Question. Now, there are questions where you will find there is a high degree of subjectivity. High degree of subjectivity. In the sense, design of the question itself is designed in such a way where subjectivity. But there are questions which is highly conceptual. Every year you will find that at least 3 or 4 questions are highly conceptual. Concept is up. Highly concept. So how to deal with the conceptual questions? This is what? Question number 7. Question number 7. Concept-based questions. बताओ क्या है क्वेश्चन और क्या लिखोगे? क्वेश्चन नंबर 7 here in the chat box. बताइए सर. Question says, how can Immanuel Kant's concept of universality be applied to a real-life ethical dilemma? What implications does this have for personal integrity and trustworthiness? बताओ. क्वेश्चन बहुत टफ है क्या?
So basically, how can it be applied in real life is giving A-to-B examples that going classmates, giving normal examples rather than example, because it asks how can it be applied in real life experience. Then what are the implications on personal integrity and trustworthiness?
My next point is basically when there are concept-based questions, fine. So entire discussion has to be in and around the concept itself. Fine. Now, if you don't know, then there is a different scenario. Then what kind of interpretation you write or don't write? Fine. For example, a few years back, there was a question related to Gandhi's 7 sins, Gandhi's 7 sin principles. Fine. When I spoke to the candidates, they said कि सर 5 याद थे, 2 याद नहीं था, तो मैंने untouchability और ये लिख दिया क्योंकि मुझे लगा गांधी ने कुछ तो कुछ ऐसा ही कहा होगा. तो ऐसा होता. It happens. It happens, and it happens more. But then no issue for that. No issue for that. See, as far as this question is concerned, this question is basically about the application of the concept. Fine. Because this question doesn't ask or it's not asking anything about only about the concept. So that you discuss about you can say the concept per se. So my next point is basically that when any concept-based question comes to you, I repeat my sentence, any concept-based questions comes to you, see 2 things. When it is mentioned, then in any case you have to do that only. Otherwise also, number 1, the concept per se, and number 2, the application, in the sense significance. That makes that valid, and that's why they have asked this question. For example, in this case, the question is very simple, that duty ethics of Kant's duty ethics is absolute. It talks about the absolute. It talks about the maxim, and that's why word used as, you can say, concept of universality. Concept of universality in the sense it's universal, because he says good is what comes out of the goodwill. Kant says good is what comes out of the goodwill, in the sense intention से जो निकल रहा है, जिसके पीछे reason है साहब. Fine. But it says ethical dilemma. Ethical dilemma. How it will solve the ethical dilemma. Fine. So here you have to take examples, and it's basically application. कि कांट का ड्यूटी एथिक्स यूनिवर्सलिटी डिलेमा को कैसे सर्व कर सकता है. फॉर एग्जांपल टेलिंग ट्रूथ और टेलिंग लाई टू सेव वन लाइफ, वन पर्सन. ये डिलेमा है ना साहब, डिलेमा है. डिलेमा एक क्वेश्चन और भी है डिलेमा का, मैं आता हूं अभी उस पे. उस तरह के क्वेश्चंस पे यहाँ पे सिर्फ आपको ये देखना है कि हाउ डू वी अप्लाई. How do we apply? So my point is very simple. Here, I don't want to go in the content of it. I can discuss it if you wish, but my point is very simple, so that I can help you to expose the different kind of demands of the question. So that वो एक brain में रहे कि यार इसी तरह से पूछ रहे हैं और इसी चीजों का हमको ख्याल रखना है. That's it. So in questions of like these kind of things, when they have, for example, it says you can say applied in the real life. In any case, you have to take the real life example. एप्लीकेशन में रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल, जैसे प्लास्टिक वाला है, प्लास्टिक वाला लो ना रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल में. फॉर है ना, तुम्हारे लाइफ में नहीं होगा, जो अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में है, अगर उनको पॉलिथीन और प्लास्टिक नहीं यूज करने दिया जाए तो उसके पास अल्टरनेट क्या है. अल्टरनेट होगी तो उसकी कॉस्टिंग बढ़ जा रही है ना, तो वहां देखना पड़ेगा. रियल लाइफ डज नॉट मीन टू यू. रियल लाइफ है ना, अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में अब जब एक सब्जी वाले के पास आप कहते हैं कि पॉलिथीन यूज नहीं करो, दैट्स गुड, फेयर आइडिया. लेकिन उसके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखें तो उसकी सेलिंग जो है, या इस तरह के बहुत सारे एग्जांपल्स होते हैं जहां पे उसके पास एथिकल डिलेमा इस चीज को लेके है कि साहब ऑपरेशन कॉस्ट बढ़ जाएगा. वेयर इज द अल्टरनेटिव. अल्टरनेटिव आपके पास है कि आप घर से अपना झोला लेके जाओ, उसके पास इतने अल्टरनेटिव्स नहीं है. सो यू हैव टू फाइंड एथिकल डिलेमा फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव. बट इट सेज ड्यूटी इज ड्यूटी. इफ एनवायरमेंटल प्रोटेक्शन इज देयर, यू आर बाउंड टू डू सो. बाउंड टू डू सो. जैसे यही इसकी क्रिटिसिज्म भी है, यही इसकी क्रिटिसिज्म भी है. कैसे? जैसे वो कहता है कि डोंट लाई, बिकॉज व्हाट इफ एवरीवन लाइज. जैसे ड्यूटी एथिक्स में कहता है कि भाई एब्सोल्यूट. ड्यूटी एथिक्स की जो प्रॉब्लम है, वो प्रॉब्लम ही यही है कि वो एब्सोल्यूट की बात करता है. जो उसका क्रिटिसिज्म है, जैसे डेविड रॉस कहता है कि साहब नहीं, ड्यूटी ठीक है लेकिन कंडीशनल होने चाहिए. इट हैज टू बी कंडीशनल. It has to be conditional. That conditional has to be some morality, but it has to be conditional. Otherwise, absolute हो जाएगा. Absolute हो जाएगा तो life is not black and white. The world is not black and white. Black and white. For example, suppose if you are, suppose someone comes to you and says, knocks to your door and says, please give me a place to hide. मेरे पीछे पुलिस पड़ी हुई है, I am innocent and they will kill me. फाइन, आप उसको जगह दे देते हैं. पुलिस आती है, नॉक्स द डोर, और वो फोटो दिखा के आपसे पूछ रही है, हैव यू सीन दिस पर्सन, हैव यू सीन दिस पर्सन. तो कांट कहता है डोंट लाई, टेल द ट्रूथ. डेविड रॉस कहता है टेल लाई बिकॉज यू कैन सेव द लाइफ. देख रहे हो, वो कहता है कंडीशनल है. वो कहता है कि देयर इज नथिंग कॉल्ड कंडीशन. ड्यूटी में कंडीशन नहीं हो सकता है. कंडीशन यूनिवर्सलिटी है साहब. इट हैज टू बी ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट. It has to be black and white. एक ही में डिलेमा है ना, तो डिलेमा को सॉल्व कैसे करेंगे. ड्यूटी कहता है कि ड्यूटी हैज टू बी ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट. Black and white. Fine. But anyway, my point is here not to discuss the concept and all, but my point was here basically to discuss the concept based questions. In the concept based question, what you have to do or what you need to take care is just one and only one thing. Number one, concept. Number two, application. In the most of the questions, you take care of these kind of things. For example, just go see the previous question paper. You will find all the keyword based question. All the keyword based question पिछले 7-8 साल के देख लो, सारे में एक ही रिक्वायरमेंट है, कॉन्सेप्ट एंड एप्लीकेशन. चाहे वो इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस हो, चाहे वो इम्पार्शलिटी हो, चाहे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट हो, चाहे वो कंसाइंस हो, some or other where its application is there. Some context में application है ही है. So my point is here, when I am going to give you some 200 keywords, मैं वो दे रहा हूँ आपको. Questions तो मैंने दे दिया है उसको. कल केस स्टडी करने के बाद आई विल गिव यू सम 20-25 केस स्टडीज आल्सो. 5 तो हम यही क्लास में ही सॉल्व करेंगे बैठ के बिल्कुल, सो दैट ऑल द डाउट्स शुड बी क्लियर. क्रॉस क्वेश्चन हैज टू बी देयर, क्योंकि उसमें क्रॉस क्वेश्चन होंगे. अभी एक क्वेश्चन और आ रहा हूँ, उसमें क्रॉस क्वेश्चन होने वाला है अभी, तो उसमें. और उसके बाद फिर अपने घर में 10-15 क्वेश्चन बनाओ, डिस्कस करो मेरे साथ, खत्म हो गया. उसको फिर फाड़ के फेंक दोगा, हो गया, अब नहीं करना है. जो ग्रे एरियाज है उसमें अपना टाइम ज्यादा दो, एक बार फिक्स हो गया तो हो गया. बट एनीवे, माय लास्ट क्वेश्चन इज, then I will take the question answer, a very open-ended question answer, जो जिसको जो पूछना है वो पूछ सकता है. एक क्वेश्चन मैंने बनाया है which is very highly debatable. Yes, question number 2. Question number 2. Question number 2. Question number 2 is very simple. Are ethical dilemmas primarily about choosing between the right and wrong, or they often about determining the lesser or two evils?
To be in between. Right and wrong, good and bad is a conclusion. Right or wrong is a conclusion. It's not a process. Ethical dilemma is a process. So it should determine whether.
Tell me.
That's it. The first part can also be right. The second part is generally what we take as the third item in general. Or even
See, I will come into this, but every year you will find some questions where you will find there is no clear-cut answer to you, at least in the examination hall. There are clear-cut answer, but in the examination hall, because it's struck like this only. For example, there was one question, differentiate between ethics of management and management of ethics. एक साल question था ना ये, ethics of management and management of ethics. So all of a sudden, when these kind of questions comes, where you find the contradictions. So my next point is basically the kind of questions where you feel that there are contradictions, there are conflicting ideas within the question itself. In these type of questions, you need to be clear about one and only one thing, and that what is the, you can say, the concept around the question is asked, because the context may be contradictory. वो question क्या है, concept क्या पूछ रहा है? So this question is all around ethical dilemma. Now, so when these kind of things question comes to you, the first you have to ask, यार question का key demand क्या है? Key demand क्या है? Again, I am saying you, there are 3 things. I am concluding now. There are 3 things: concept, context, and instruction. Mind it, context can be contradictory. आप कई बार धोखा खा जाएंगे, लेकिन concept contradictory नहीं है. Concept is concept, whether it is duty ethics or ethical dilemma, etc. So whenever these kind of things happens, then start thinking in and around the concepts. Concept context पे jump करने से पहले आप थोड़ा सा focus concept पे कर लो. Concept will bring more clarity to you rather than the context. कई बार context में contradiction, conflicts, vagueness, unclear, these kind of things will appear to you. लगेगा कि यार ये क्या है, but then you have to take care of these things. So this question is basically, it talks about both. You say both, yes, it's about both, no doubt about it. It's about, you can say, the right and wrong, and it's also about the lesser and two evils. Because when we say ethical dilemma is happens when there are two difficult choices. You have to pick among them, one among them. Ethical dilemma happens then when there are value conflicts. And so to solve the dilemma, there is one and only one method. Only one method. Prioritize one above the another. That's it's very simple. Ethical dilemma का कोई भी क्वेश्चन होगा, कहीं पे भी होगा, वो एक ही क्राइटेरिया है. Prioritize one over the another. This is how. Because it's whatever you do, because its choice is difficult. But then you don't have any choice but to prioritize. Prioritize. For example, now. Now in this question, just imagine a question or scenario. That imagine a scenario where telling the truth could lead to significant harm to another. Fine. So preventing harm would be the lesser evil, and telling the truth is, honesty is the right. So right and lesser evil. Take the another example. For example, in the COVID case, many of the companies started, you can say, giving the pink slip or layoff, termination. बहुत हुए, बहुत सारे companies में हुए. Fine. Now here also you take the example from a manager might face the decision to lay off some employee to ensure the survival of the company, to protect some job, and also to you can say help the company to survive. Fine. This also here you will find the example of lesser evil versus greater good, because one has to allow the company to survive. Fine. So there are, you can say, several examples where you will find that there is right and wrong and right and lesser evil. Yes, you can. Take the example of whistleblowing. Now, so he is saying that right and wrong के बीच में हम एक example लेते हैं. Take the example of whistleblowing where an employee discover unethical practices in their company. Fine. And reporting the misconduct may harm company's reputation and lead to job loss. अगर वो whistle blow करता है तो reputation भी जाएगी और job loss भी होता है. नहीं करेगा तो ये wrong है साहब, क्योंकि वो एक unethical practices में involve है. Fine. So here you will find that the moment he blow the whistle, reputation भी गई, बहुत लोगों की job भी गई. Fine. So there are several examples where you will find that there are examples of right versus right, wrong. Lying का ले लो ना, अभी तो दिया ना example. Lying. To tell the truth, when you say to protect some person, one कहता है कि साहब ये right है, David Ross कहता है wrong है. There are examples, ना? Let me come like this. So his question is basically that how dilemma can be seen from the perspective of right versus right versus wrong, and right versus lesser evil. ऐसा ही है ना क्वेश्चन? और yes, lesser of the two evils, lesser of the two evils. Fine. Now take the example of you can say right versus right. Fine. Right versus right का example हमने जैसे अभी whistle blowing का भी example दिया, climatic change का भी दिया, etc. Yeah, I'm coming to it. Let me clarify that first. Let's take the example of torture. Torture. Fine. You are a police officer. You are a police officer. You got the information that bomb has been planted in the city, and you are running out of the time. On the basis of some vague information, you picked some person, and to get the information or the correct information, you applied for, you can say, torture, and in that process, one person died. One person died. Fine. Torture is wrong. Torture is wrong because of the Supreme Court's ruling also, otherwise also. But here the dilemma is because of one thing, and that you are running out of the time, and to you can say protect the larger interest, you have to apply it. So it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. Torture is wrong because even law doesn't permit you. Law भी तुम्हें permit नहीं कर रहा ना. So it's not about lesser evil. वो तो मर गया ना. He's died. He's died. Fine. So here you will find here that when you think like this dilemma, right versus wrong, your right is basically to protect the major person, more and more person. Because if the bomb blast happens, then it will cause more and more damage. More and more damage. But if you go with the consequences, it's wrong. Even if you go the process, it's wrong, because third degree or torture is basically it's no, according to the rule. Rule ke la rule. Now your question.
That's a lot more wrong. Maybe right or wrong, after law perspective, I don't know after time.
हाँ ठीक है, you are right. So what is the problem? Ethical dilemma is not here. It's not talking about the personal dilemma. First of all, you have to talk about it is basically context specific, not person specific. Please. So you are saying it's a personal. It's not. Ethical dilemma happens because of the context. When you have very, very difficult choice. Very, very difficult choice. Very, very difficult choice. And in that difficult choice, you have to prioritize one above the another. For example, here also you have to prioritize. For example, I'll give you one example. For example, let's take the example of Major Gogoi, what happened in the JNK a few years back when he picked one person tied in front of the jeep and used as a human shield. So if you look at from that point of view, that person point of view, it was wrong because it's a human rights issue. But you see the point of view of Major Gogoi, it was basically to save his team members and also minimize the damages. अपने एक को use किया ना human shield के बारे में. So my answer is basically it's not about person, it's about the context. So please think from the context point of view rather than the one you are saying कि सर कि ये dilemma जो है वो person to person हो सकती है. बिल्कुल person to person ही होगी, लेकिन हमें उसमें नहीं जाना, हमें तो context pick करना है. हमें context pick करना है. So this is all about this. Now my point is here, my last point, where I wanted to come to you. Last category of question you will find where arguments are there and very, very strong arguments are there. In many questions you will find that basically kind of arguments you make, that's the key to take edge in the marks or the, you can say, क्वालिटी ऑफ द क्वेश्चन, उसमें सिर्फ और सिर्फ मार्क्स के अलावा आर्गुमेंट के अलावा कुछ भी नहीं है जो आपको देगा. नाउ व्हेन एवर यू मेक आर्गुमेंट, what is important here? Now, your argument is not your personal opinion. Please try to understand. Your argument is not your personal opinion. So in any argument, what you do, you pick the situation. आप situation pick करते हैं ना, and then whether it is right, wrong, whatever it is, you make the point. So in argument building, whatever you do the argument building, आपको कुछ चीजें प्रायोरिटी में रखनी पड़ेगी. Number one, whenever you substantiate these kind of things, you give priority to the law. Why? To settle the argument. Because law of the land is supreme. There is no second thought of it. जब हम substantiate करते हैं, किसी बात को कहते हैं, तो law तो हम किसी basis पे तो कहेंगे ना साहब. Some or other, because you are making argument. You are making argument. Number one. Number two, then the second point comes here, the institutions. Institution के context में लेके आओ. Third point, it may be, you can say, some of the real life examples से भी आप उसको लेके कर सकते हैं on the basis of the standard practices, popular practices, provided it comply with the moral principles, ideas, etc. So my point is here. Why I am talking about this? Because in the beginning itself I had told you that in many answers I am saying that Y factor is missing. Y factor is missing. Though the answer is good, despite I am giving 3, 3.5, maximum 4. क्यों? क्योंकि आपके पॉइंट्स बहुत अच्छे हैं, लेकिन मैं 30-35% से ज्यादा नहीं दे सकता, बिकॉज यू आर नॉट मेकिंग द आर्गुमेंट बेसिस ऑफ वाई. हम कैसे मान लें इसको? यू कैन नॉट लिव ऑन माई डिस्क्रिप्शन. सो let me now quickly some of the things. The point which I wanted to tell you here, that at least if you look at your copies, you will find there are some 10 to 12 points where I wanted to bring you. जहाँ पे 10-12 पॉइंट के आसपास मैं आपको लाने की कोशिश कर रहा था, where you need to take care of certain things in the answer writing. These are the things where you need to take care. That's it. Examples, introduction, conclusion, point of disagreement, argument, etc. Fine. These are the things as far as answer writing is concerned. Now, very quickly, let's come to you can say the syllabus and how to go for the recall. In the sense, if you have to revise entire syllabus in 2 to 3 days without, you can say, disturbing some other days involvement, how to do it. I'm talking about this syllabus. So you will find that the first category of the unit is basically talks about the principles. So what you need to do here, basically, you go through the questions that I have given to you. Fine. In those questions, you will find first set of questions, 50, 100 questions, etc., is based on the principles. That's it. Here you will find two things. Are you clear about the meaning? And more important, you can say the application. Fine. तो तुम्हें पूरे सिलेबस में पहला जो एक सेट है, वो basically it talks about the principles. पहला 2 यूनिट ले लो. Fine. Second most important thing that you have to take care of the moral reasoning. You go and check your copies, you will find 99% of the copies are missing moral reasoning. अभी जाके चेक कर लो अपने फ्रेंड में, peer group में भी. Moral reasoning in the sense that when you substantiate this paper, that what basis you are substantiating. When you taking clue or cue from you can say the moral theories, then whether it is relevant or not, whether it is complete or not. Number 2. Number 3. Applied ethics. Applied ethics is basically when you see the application of these principles in certain context, whether it is in the context of governance, whether it is context of environment, whether in context of you can say business or whatever it is. 4 is EI and attitude. Largely, you will find its importance in terms of the decision making. It talks about the human nature. Fine. So most of the questions in EI and decision making, you will find moving somewhere around the decision making, that how it helps to make qualitative decisions. ज्यादातर क्वेश्चन आपको इसके आसपास ही मिलेंगे. So my point is basically when you have to apply, you see from the point of view the decision making. Fine. And the last is basically the keywords. It is very unorganized, very you can say unstructured, because if you look at the syllabus, in syllabus hardly they have given 10 or 15 keywords, which they have already asked at least 3-4 times. वो कई बार पूछ चुके हैं. पूरी सिलेबस को अगर आपको देखना हो तो इतने में ही है ये. This is what the syllabus is all about. वो जो questions है, which is principle based. For example, moral thinker, it talks about the principles. For example, applied ethics, moral reasoning, and this and that. So what you need to do is basically just go through those questions, recall what? Recall the first thing first, the principles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What you know, what you don't know. That's it. Number 2, that when you think of application, whether you are thinking of the moral reasoning or not, simply you have to recall 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, I am saying you that you don't have to disturb your whole day. आप जिसको जो आपने जैसा रूटीन अभी से बनाया होगा बिल्कुल भी डिस्टर्ब नहीं करना है. इसको डाउनलोड करो, मोबाइल पे अपना रखा पीडीएफ को, खाना खाने के बाद जब भी फ्री फील करो 10 to 15 मिनट्स 10 क्वेश्चन 15 क्वेश्चन 20 क्वेश्चन पढ़ते चले गए. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. इसी तरह से मैंने पूरे सिलेबस को टच कर दिया एवरीथिंग. सो वंस यू रीड and recall completely, you will find that everything is done. So second point I said moral reasoning in the sense the basis of the reasoning. Number you can say decision making. Now as far as decision making is concerned, it's your call to look at the things in the real life scenario, public life, civil services, business. It's up to you. So my point is here that anything if you take from the public life, it's easy क्योंकि वो सिंपल है, हम तुरंत अप्लाई कर सकते हैं उसको. जब रियल लाइफ कहे भी तो इट डज नॉट मीन इट्स टॉकिंग अबाउट यू until unless it uses with your experience real life. तो आप एग्जांपल्स वो लो जो कंट्राडिक्टरी नहीं है, कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग नहीं है, क्लियर है. नंबर 2, whenever you give example please complete it. जैसे कई बार आप लोग लिखते हो क्लाइमेट चेंज वर्ड लिख के छोड़ दिया, उसके कई एस्पेक्ट हो सकते हैं. एंड लास्ट इज कीवर्ड्स. सो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ कीवर्ड्स I have already framed some 100 questions based on the 100 keywords, but apart from it I will give you 200 keywords that I will have to you can say compile it. ये तो दे दिया है मैंने, और उसको सिर्फ एक बार पढ़ के देख लेना. उसमें सिर्फ एक ही चीज देख लेना, एग्जांपल्स, क्योंकि वो लास्ट मोमेंट में एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में वो थोड़ा रिकॉल का प्रॉब्लम है. So the whole idea is basically to do a recall sort of thing and discuss certain things so that you can improve your answer. So this is what is my point of view and my session. Now, if you can ask questions, then we'll conclude.
Using the code-based like you get for not by not using the same word that I understand the meaning, but using it to 2-3 words, and that I think also helps in the essay writing as well. First example is that, and second issue every time I say is the exact examples for the demand. Like, for example, the Sridharan I gave the example, that wasn't.
See, if you are facing the examples problem, then I can do one thing. I can compile examples because I have certain files, though I will have to edit it, but it's a very easy. I tell you one thing. It's a very easy. For example, on the occasion of Civil Services Day, Government of India awards good practices. तो वहां पे बहुत सारे एग्जांपल्स हैं, लेकिन वो बहुत लेंदी और डिटेल दिया हुआ है. तो जो आप कह रहे हो ना एग्जांपल्स उसके आइडियाज हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे हमें पब्लिक सर्विस में एफिशिएंसी का एग्जांपल चाहिए, तो ओपन त्रिपाठी के एग्जांपल है. ही इज अ वेरी बिग नेम इन बीएमटीसी इन दिस इज पब्लिक सर्विसेज में. बीएमटीसी वाज इन लॉस, बेंगलोर मेट्रोपॉलिटन ट्रांसपोर्ट कॉर्पोरेशन, एंड व्हेन ही बिकम द मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर इन 4 to 5 years he changed the scenario and become from huge loss to huge profit. And just now you see the problem he was facing, attitude की problem, public transport पे trust का problem, fine, demotivation in the system, fine, institutional inertia, in the sense resist for the change, and one person brings the change in the 4 to 5 years in the public transport from huge loss to huge profit. तो ऐसे एग्जांपल्स हैं, आपके पास हैं तो बहुत अच्छा है, वरना मैं कंपाइल कर दूंगा. इट्स है मेरे पास, एडिट करना पड़ेगा. मैंने उसको अलग अलग जगह से एक जगह मैंने कंपाइल किया हुआ है. तो इस तरह के एग्जांपल्स हैं. मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं, ये सारी का कहने का एक ही रीजन था, और वो है कि आप रेलिवेंट रहे, थोड़ा डाइवर्सिफाइड रहे, कॉपी एक जैसी नहीं हो. मैंने कहा ना, ये पहली बार हुआ है ऐसा, व्हेन मोस्ट ऑफ द कॉपीज आर सेम. मुझे ये वर्ड भी यूज करना पड़ा व्हाइल डिस्कशन के, इट्स अपीयर लाइक यू आर राइटिंग लाइक अ रोबो, क्योंकि सबके एक ही जैसे हो गया है. व्हाट मे बी द रीजन, आई डोंट वांट टू गो इनटू दैट, बट इतना ही कहना. और वो जानते हो क्या है जो मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ वो मेंटरशिप में, वो है कि यू कैन करेक्ट द थिंग्स बाय मेयरली बाय द वर्च्यू ऑफ थिंकिंग. यू डोंट हैव टू वेस्ट टाइम, whether you accept it or not, but I have touched certain point and triggered some thinking. वो क्वेश्चन पढ़ोगे, थोड़ी थिंकिंग आ जाएगी, वो क्लैरिटी आ जाएगी. Fine. So this is what I can do. You have my number. Fine. So after the class also you can discuss, and whenever you wish you can discuss. सिर्फ मैसेज करके छोड़ देना, हम लोग बात कर सकते हैं. क्लास रहती तो फोन, जैसे मैं क्लास में भी हूँ तो कहीं रखा होगा, अब बज रहा होगा, बहुत लोगों को लगा यार नंबर दे दिया, उठाता तो है नहीं. तो I will go and reply, nothing else. Tomorrow's session, what I am going to do, will take, you can say, 25 case studies. Fine. 3 to 4 case studies we are going to solve here itself, where all different kind of questions are there. जहां पे हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक ही चीज डिस्कस करेंगे. जैसे आज मेरे जो थीम था और जो पर्पस था, वो बेसिकली था, नंबर 1, that how to be specific in answer writing, and that's why I discuss in this fashion what is mean by specific, rather than moving in and on the keywords. Similarly, tomorrow is objectivity. Essay is all about relevant, in the sense how to remain relevant throughout the 1,000 words. And there are ways to do it. जहाँ पे आप relevant है, relevant होने का ही marks है, relevant होने का ही marks है ना साहब, चाहे वो philosophical हो, चाहे current affairs, चाहे जो भी नाम दो उसको. So this is how in you can say polity also, what we are going to do, some 100-150 topics, we will go like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 ये issues हैं, and in economy Himanshu sir will take, and he is also going to do the same thing. So by these five things, you have to just think, and take the corrective measures by thinking rather than the reading. So this is the whole idea of this recall mentorship. That's it. मेरा नंबर है आप लोगों के पास, अगेन आई एम गिविंग यू, जिसके पास अगर ऑनलाइन में भी नहीं भी है तो 9582778114. मेक थिंग्स इजी. लास्ट टाइम पे प्रेशर नहीं लेना है. किसी चीज की जरूरत हो, जहां पे लग रहा गैप है, यू जस्ट टेक्स्ट मी. जैसे अपने एग्जांपल्स का कहा, लगता हो ठीक, मुझे लगे 1 घंटा करने में, एडिट करके मैं करके दे दूंगा. इट्स वेरी इजी. बहुत सारे एग्जांपल्स हैं साइट पे, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की. टीम ना, ठीक है, वो भी कर दूंगा. ठीक है. एनीथिंग एल्स? फाइन. सो सी यू टुमारो. विल स्टार्ट एग्जैक्टली 9. आज तो बारिश हो रही थी, इसलिए मैं फंस गया था अदरवाइज, एंड विल लीव यू बाय 11:30 मैक्सिमम. थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू.